Chapter 977. As an elder of the Gu family, to be able to enter the Doyan Hall, one had to make a great contribution to the Gu family. To determine the contribution, one had to see how many people one had killed for the Gu family, and how much money one had earned. This was the most direct method. Obviously, the more people Gu Sha killed, the more money he earned. That was why he had entered the Council of Grand Elders. Now, he was a Grand Elder, and had come to oversee the place where the problem had arisen. The number of people Gu Sha had killed was uncountable. Moreover, when he was in charge of the law enforcement hall, he used ruthless methods to rectify the family. At that time, he became an executioner that everyone feared. The murderous aura that he had cultivated for many years had turned into an ordinary aura at this time. Most of it was hidden. He hid this murderous aura within his body. On the surface, he was trying his best to be friendly. Young Master Li, please be patient. I am Gu Sha from the Gu family. I am now an elder. Coincidentally, I was acquainted with your deputy pavilion master Chu back then. Gu Sha looked at Li Zongjio, who had rushed in exasperatedly. He was not in a hurry and said slowly. As he spoke, he tried his best to appease Li Zongjio. Moreover, he even brought up Vice Pavilion Master Chu. Obviously, he wanted to worm his way into being friends with Yi Shiwen. To him, it was a piece of cake to keep a 3-year-old kid in his good books. Cut the crap. It is useless even if you know my father. Li Zongjio said directly. Smash everything here. Li Zongjio ordered. Many of the furnishings in the hall were antiques. Often, there would be some famous guests who would come to discuss matters. If the items placed here were not of good quality, there would be no business. The Gu family was an extremely ancient family. These antiques were all authentic. He had never thought that Li Zongjio and the others were like barbaric bandits. When the people behind him heard this, they thought that since they had someone backing them, it was a great thing to be able to come to the Gu family's residence in Royal City to cause trouble. Therefore, each of them smashed more vigorously than the last. Li Zongjio, don't go overboard. Do you really think that my Gu family is afraid of you? Gu Yao bared his teeth and glared at Li Zongjio, as if he wanted to dig Li Zongjio's head out. Oh, you're not afraid of me? Just based on this little old man's strength of a 5th-stage primitive emperor? Li Zongjio smiled disdainfully. There was actually someone who dared to challenge him in front of him. Now, as long as this supreme being expert did not appear, Li Zongjio had nothing to fear. Seeing that Li Zongjio had seen through his true strength, he was shocked. Gu Sha's face changed. Let's not talk about how Li Zongjio knew his true strength. Even though he knew his cultivation level, he still dared to be so arrogant. This showed that he had nothing to fear. A 5th-stage origin emperor was already considered a mid-stage origin emperor expert. Even if such an expert killed a few unimportant imperial court officials, the Xingyan dynasty would not necessarily pursue the matter. This was a symbol of strength. Even if you killed a city lord, as long as you were sincere enough, the Xingyan dynasty would not make things difficult for such a tyrannical primitive emperor expert. Previously, when Li Zongjio had not become strong, when he met Nangong Wuji in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, Nangong Wuji was able to guarantee that Li Zongjio would be able to do whatever he wanted in the future. That was true. What was the background of this Li Zongjio? How about this? Either you hand over the person tonight, or you take a blow from my hammer. If you can withstand this blow, I will leave and not find trouble with you. When Li Zongjio saw Gu Sha's shocked expression, he knew that this little old man was starting to feel a little weak. With this little ability, he wanted to suppress Li Zongjio and have a slow talk with Li Zongjio? He was underestimating Li Zongjio too much. Take a blow from his hammer? Last night, in order to express their sincerity and gratitude, the two people from the Zong clan had exchanged information with the Gu clan. From the information that the Zong clan had gathered, it was clear that Li Zongjio was the evil lord that they had caught a glimpse of in the Hell Arena. It was hard to believe that such a person could still be alive, and well after giving himself such a nickname that would be struck by lightning. However, this evil lord was really capable. Just the ability that he had displayed was like a small black hammer. Almost no one could withstand this evil lord's hammer. Hearing Li Zongjio's request, Gu Sha naturally did not dare to accept it. It's just a hammer. There is no need for Elder Yuan to take action. Let me do it. If I can't withstand your hammer today, I, Gu Yao, will not have the face to continue living. Gu Yao stood out and said. At this time, he naturally had to help Elder Yuan. No matter what, if he was really killed by Li Zongjiu's hammer, the clan would record his contribution. Hence, Gu Yao had to show himself. As long as he did not die, he would definitely receive Elder Gu Sha's full support in the future. Gu Sha gave Gu Yao a look of affirmation. It was as if he was saying, "You did well. I will reward you when I return." Alright, then it's you. After saying that, Li Zongjiu also took out his black dragon hammer. Gu Yao took a step forward. After making a series of hand seals, a golden armor covered in light immediately appeared around his body. The armor was in a golden and transparent state. It was a high-grade defensive yuan tool. Bah, so shameless. Using the sky gold armor. Tai Fai immediately scolded. This person was really shameless. The sky gold armor's defensive power is ranked 10th among the high-grade defensive yuan tools. It is said that it can withstand the full blow of an Origin Emperor expert. Tai Fai's words were obviously for Li Zongjiu to hear. Wow, so powerful. How much is one set? Li Zongjiu asked. It is sold in the 7-star flame room. Each set is priced at 79 million purple yuan. Isn't that more expensive than my Azura cauldron? Wait, let me test the power of this thing first. Li Zongjiu said in surprise. 70 million purple yuan coins was already a terrifying amount. Although Li Zongjiu had a lot of money, billions of purple yuan coins had entered his account in a short period of time. The main reason was that these were all stolen from others. Who knew how long it took for others to accumulate such wealth? Li Zongjiu relied on his tyrannical strength. He robbed people clean at the drop of a hat. That was why he had so much money. If Li Zongjiu was allowed to earn a little, who knew when he would be able to earn as much as he did now? Moreover, the expenses of the White Deer Manor were not low. They had to feed so many people, and a few Origin Emperor level soul beasts. These expenses were enough to make Xiao Zhao extremely worried. Moreover, the White Deer Manor was in a good financial situation now. They did not purchase anything extremely valuable in the manor. The amount of money was unpredictable. There was no such thing as being despicable on the battlefield. So Li Zongjiu was allowed to use such a terrifying hammer. But he was not allowed to use such a defensive yuan tool? Anyway, it was not clear before the fight, so it naturally counted. Are you ready? Li Zongjiu asked when he saw Gu Yao's confident look. The surrounding people who were smashing and robbing stopped what they were doing and looked at Li Zongjiu attentively. Many of them were also very curious. Was this young master of the Li family really as powerful as the legends said? Gu Sha also stared at Li Zongjiu's actions expressionlessly. The yuan energy in his body was also quietly circulating, ready to strike at any time. As Li Zongjiu's voice fell, he walked in front of Gu Yao and smashed the black dragon hammer in his hand towards the golden light. Boom! The hammer fell to the ground, shaking the heavens and earth. Gu Yao looked on helplessly as the floating golden armor in front of him was shattered into pieces. At the same time, a terrifying and overbearing force attacked Gu Yao. It was as if a giant beast was biting towards him. In the next moment, Gu Yao's body was torn into pieces by this force. Whoosh! Boom! A wave of destructive energy continued to sweep forward. A large hole was immediately blasted in the Gu family's house. After this large hole, the force formed a path of destruction. Everywhere it passed, everything was crushed into pieces. Crash! This force penetrated the front and back of the Gu family's mansion. Even the last wall collapsed with a gentle gust of wind. In the middle of this long trail, Gu Yao's body was not found. It's a pity. Looks like he didn't manage to block my hammer. Before sunset today, if I don't see anyone in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion, you will be next. Can you block it? Chapter 978. Can you withstand it? This was complete disdain. If it had been anyone else, Gu Sha would have let them know how powerful he was. However, Li Zongjiu was standing before him, so Gu Sha didn't dare to act rashly. At the same time, he was comforting himself. He had to consider the big picture. Of course, these words were only for himself. Even if the people around him did not understand, Wuxia could only treat it as a great burden. How could ordinary people like you understand his pain? Li Zhongjio and the rest came to wreck the place, and then swaggered away. It was said that the people in the Gu family did not even dare to let out a fart. Even the mansion of the Gu family had been demolished beyond recognition. From the looks of it, it was as if it had been demolished and rebuilt. As for the casualties, the outside world was not sure. However, some people saw Wuxia standing in the ruins. This was the newly appointed helmsman of the Gu family. To think that he would encounter such a situation as soon as he took office. This really made people admire China. They could not help but observe a few minutes of silence for Wuxia. Li Zhongjio did not hide his actions at all. Almost the entire Sacred Flame Royal City had received the news and started to pay attention to it. Previously, Li Zhongjio was just a clown jumping around in the Sacred Flame Royal City. Such a person was not a threat at all. No matter how he jumped around, he might be crippled by someone one day. It was only now that these people realized that Li Zhongjio had reached a very terrifying level. With such a growth rate, he could no longer be ignored. It was too late even if they wanted to curry favor with him. Without the foundation of their previous relationship, it would be very difficult to curry favor with him. 7-star Fire Room. Song Jiyu was also one of the people who had been paying attention to Li Zhongjio's news. Recently, there had been some problems with the orders in Song Jiyu's hands. Even a few of the big clients in Song Jiyu's hands seemed to have the intention of transferring them. It must have been dug out by someone else. Although the Sacred Flame Royal City's market had stabilized, there were still some important connections in the lower cities. If the overall performance couldn't catch up, the situation would be more critical. Right now, Song Jiyu was in a terrible fix because there were people in the Song family who had secretly joined forces to deal with Song Jiyu. They wanted to eliminate Song Jiyu. More than half of the resources in the 21st class cities under the Song family's control had been taken away by others. The orders from these cities were comparable to those from Sacred Flame Royal City. However, although this matter was troublesome for Song Jiyu, this was the way to do things in the family. Not only did she have to guard against the opponents outside the family, she also had to keep an eye on the people inside the family. Backstabbing was a common occurrence, so it was not surprising. When she heard that Li Zhongjio had gone to the Gu clan again today, Song Jiyu sensed that something was amiss. His style of doing things was somewhat different from the Li Zhongjio she knew in the past. In the past, Li Zhongjio was extremely low-key and casual. When he killed someone, he dealt with it quickly. After what happened last night, he could even do it without alerting anyone. However, this time, with such great fanfare, it seemed like he was trying to establish his own reputation. What kind of temper does this Li Zhongjio have? It's so strange. Song Jiyu couldn't understand Li Zhongjio's character at all. However, with Li Zhongjio causing such a ruckus, there would probably be people in the city who would focus on Li Zhongjio very soon. Perhaps there would be another huge crocodile in the current market to devour. There was nothing strange about it. This was related to personal interests. If Li Zhongjio really stepped into these markets, many people would suffer. When that time came, it would be a real bloody battle. There would probably be some extremely terrifying opponents from all aspects. It didn't matter if you killed a disciple of a family. If you could take revenge, you would. If you couldn't, you would admit defeat. You couldn't possibly throw the entire family into the mess. However, if you touched the family's business, then sorry. This was a matter of life and death for the family. It wouldn't be easy for you to occupy it. When that time came, it would be the time to fight for their lives. The Sacred Flame Imperial City would probably be lively again. Although the weapon industry is good, there are too many choices. There will always be a time when it's saturated. Moreover, weapons don't change so frequently. Song Jiyu thought in her heart. Perhaps it was time to start a new industry. Since there were so many backstabbers, let them play slowly. By the time they reacted, Song Jiyu would have already gained a firm foothold in the new territory. There was nothing for others. This was the most competitive behavior in the industry. Miss White Deer Manor has sent an invitation. Just as Song Jiyu was flipping through the recent Dynasty Express, and encyclopedia. Just as Song Jiyu was at her wit's end. When they heard the news, they were all stunned. She couldn't have heard wrongly, right? Where did the invitation come from? Song Jiyu was energized. Ever since Xiao Zhao left, the assistants around her felt that they weren't as smart as Xiao Zhao. They didn't handle many things as perfectly as Xiao Zhao. Sometimes, they even regretted being poached by Li Zongjio. It's an invitation from White Deer Manor. An assistant handed over the invitation in his hand. There were only 4 words written on it. Tomorrow afternoon. The strokes were vigorous, and the words were concise and clear. There were also 3 words written on the signature. Li Zongjio. It was Li Zongjio who invited her. This even made Song Jiyu a little excited. She couldn't believe her eyes. And it made Song Jiyu have a very keen business sense. Li Zongjio had just made some achievements in the Haika dynasty, and after returning, he was so high profile. And at such a time, he came to meet her. Something must be happening. Postpone tomorrow's schedule. Song Jiyu put away the invitation in her hand. She recalled the young man she met in the 7-star fire room. At that time, he was just an examinee who came to take the exam of Heavenly Star Medicine Mansion. Now he was standing at a high position. But miss, tomorrow is the Iron Tools Merchant Alliance's meeting in Xianbai City. There are at least 6 big buyers in the Secret Tools Merchant Alliance. The assistant hurriedly said. Tomorrow's meeting was the most important thing. And there were 6 big buyers. If this could be negotiated, it would definitely add a lot of color to Mrs. Performance. If she didn't meet tomorrow and change the schedule, this precious opportunity would definitely fall into the hands of others. Postpone it. Song Ji's tone didn't allow for refusal. The assistant was shocked. He hurriedly nodded and went to handle this matter. Chapter 979. Inside Bailu Manor. Li Yun received Zheng Haoran and the others who came from Jadewave Giant City. After Li Zongjio returned to the Xingyan dynasty, he directly sent people to the Zheng family to look for people, saying that he wanted to discuss the construction of warships in detail. Obviously, Li Zongjio wanted to invest in the project. The Zheng family quickly sent Zheng Haoran, who was familiar with Li Zongjio. In addition, a group of top warship designers were brought over. The main leader of the team was the Zheng family's research team leader, who was also an elder of the Zheng family, Zheng Kong. In addition, 4 top members were brought over. They all received the best education in the Zheng family and were the most creative warship designers. When Zheng Kong and the others arrived, Li Zongjio just happened to bring people to the Gu family to look for something. So only Li Yun came to receive them. After all, Li Yun and Zheng Haoran were relatively familiar with each other. Previously, Zheng Haoran stayed in the Li family for a period of time and specially trained some warship operators for the Li family. After all, learning how to operate a warship was a very important knowledge. If it was not done well, it would definitely cause a great loss. Recently, Zheng Haoran could be said to be doing well in the Zheng family. He got to know Li Zongjio, who was a powerful elder brother, and brought a huge source of income to the Zheng family. Therefore, Zheng Haoran could be said to have soared to the sky. In the Zheng family, he was quite doted on. You all take a rest first. Zongjio went out to do something and should be back at night. You can walk around, but don't go to the back of the mountain. There are a few man-eating things there. Li Yun said. Elder Zheng Kong also nodded repeatedly. He did not believe Li Yun's words about man-eating things. It was estimated that there were people guarding it. It was very normal to not let people go to the secret forbidden area. Understood. Miss Li Yun, please go ahead. We'll just sit here and wait. You don't have to be so restrained. It's fine to walk around casually. However, I have to deal with some matters first. If you have any questions, you can ask Butler Xiao Zhao. Li Yun said with a smile. Soon after, they left the White Deer Manor. Xiao Zhao didn't have the time to accompany these people. Since Li Yun said that they could roam around, she might as well take the opportunity to see what was so special about the White Deer Manor. Let's walk around. Zheng Kong and the others strolled around the manor. At the other side, Nangong Wuji was also trying out his newly developed 8 trigrams maze formation. This kind of formation would be activated unconsciously. Once it was activated, People would walk into it without noticing. There would be nothing wrong with the surroundings, but they would never be able to walk out. Of course, in order to use such a large formation, one would need a sufficient space. The Bailu Manor was so vast that it couldn't be more suitable to set up this kind of formation. Li Zhongjiu didn't bring them back directly. Instead, he walked around the main street and went to the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion. Originally, the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion could be said to be the Ninth Prince's territory. However, the Ninth Prince was imprisoned in the Alchemy Building, and he seemed to be very happy sweeping the floor. Li Zhongjiu planned that if the Ninth Prince couldn't gather enough money, he wouldn't be able to leave. As for Palace Master Yunqi in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion, she was a palace master from the Zixuan court. She had regained her freedom, and after Li Zhongjiu completely dealt with the poison cult in the southern region, the people from the Zixuan court were completely safe. It just so happened that the Zixuan court had stabilized their situation in the Holy Flame Royal City. However, the Zixuan court had always maintained a good relationship with the Bailu Manor. If there was any information, the Zixuan court would report it to the Bailu Manor. After all, the Zixuan court was originally in the intelligence business. When Li Zhongjiu and the others came to the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion, Palace Master Yunqi naturally received the news. The current Li Zhongjiu was no longer someone they could contend against. Palace Master Yunqi was very clear about this. Therefore, when Li Zhongjiu arrived, she personally came to welcome him. "Young Master Li, please come to the elegant building. Go and play by yourself." Li Zhongjiu and Taifai directly walked into the elegant building. This was a place for drinking and drinking, so all the expenses were naturally paid by young Master Li. These hired thugs were all from the Jianghu, so they were naturally very familiar with this kind of place. However, these people naturally wouldn't really go and do things at this time. Obviously, there was still work to be done at night. If they did things at this time and delayed things, wouldn't it be terrible? Therefore, these people also knew a sense of propriety. Letting them play by themselves was to let them relax a little, not to really let them indulge. "Young Master Li, long time no see." Li Zhongjiu was waiting in the elegant room. The table was already full of wine. Yunqi also hurriedly changed her clothes before walking in to entertain Li Zhongjiu and Taifai. At the same time, two maids also walked out from behind her. They were Han Shuang and Han Shui. When these two were rescued by Li Zhongjiu, they were originally arranged to stay by Xiao Zhao's side. However, Xiao Zhao also clearly saw that these two people's hearts weren't there, so he also advocated for them to return to the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion by themselves. This kind of thing couldn't be forced. These two people's hearts belonged to the Zixuan court. It was likely that they wouldn't be able to change it in this lifetime. "Sit down. Who has the final say in the Zixuan court?" Li Zhongjiu looked at Yunqi and asked. Yunqi couldn't help but feel surprised. She directly wanted to find the person in charge. This person was either looking for trouble or looking for connections. However, looking at Li Zhongjiu's appearance, she didn't know what he wanted to do, but the current situation of the Zixuan court could be said to be a mess. It was already good enough that she, Palace Lord Yunqi, could keep the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion. The Pavilion Lord is in a state of closed-door cultivation. Now, the Zixuan court is managed by two Palace Lords. One is me, and the other is Palace Lord Profound Sensitivity. However, Palace Lord Profound Sensitivity isn't in the Holy Flame Imperial City right now. If young Master Li has something to say, you can directly discuss it with me. Palace Lord Yunqi said slowly. "So your Zixuan court is now in a state of division, right?" Li Zhongjiu directly pointed it out. This made Palace Lord Yunqi's expression become extremely embarrassed, because what Li Zhongjiu said was simply accurate. Ever since the disaster of the poison cult in the south, the forces in the Zixuan court seemed to have been redistributed. The most important thing was that Palace Lord Profound Sensitivity and her subordinates seemed to have reached some kind of agreement with the other sections. They had always wanted to recruit the people on Palace Lord Yunqi's side. As for the so-called Pavilion Lord, in fact, he had already fallen. However, in order to ensure the stability of the people under Palace Lord Yunqi's command, She didn't want the people's hearts to be scattered. Otherwise, the Zixuan court would cease to exist and become a target for annexation by others. She didn't expect that the Zixuan court didn't die in the hands of the poison cult in the south, but was destroyed in the hands of her own people. Chapter 980. Although this was the truth, Li Zhongjiu didn't say it out so directly. He should at least save some face for Zixuan court. Ahem, at the moment, we just have some disagreements. Your Zixuan court's attribute is more toward yin and cold. If I remember correctly, you cultivate the moon god power, right? Li Zhongjiu looked at Palace Master Yin Qi. Some of the cultivation methods of a sect were secrets, and some were just new information. After all, the cultivation methods of a sect were powerful, and it was an invisible deterrent to others. However, the moon god power was a secret of Zixuan court. Only the palace master and above could cultivate it. How could Li Zhongjiu know about it? Therefore, when he said it, Palace Master Yin Qi's expression changed. How did you know? But soon, Palace Master Yin Qi's expression relaxed. After all, Li Zhongjiu had captured the ninth prince for some time. It wasn't difficult for him to know this information. The moon god power is actually an incomplete cultivation method. Your pavilion master should have told you this. I have the complete version of the sun god power here, Li Zhongjiu said. Then, he took out a scroll that he had prepared long ago from the Southern Kingdom's ring. What was recorded in the scroll was the sun-moon divine skill. Speaking of the power of this divine art of sun and moon, Li Zhongjiu encountered a person who cultivated this divine art of sun and moon. However, this person wasn't a member of Zixuan court. But in the end, the cultivation method of the sun god power fell directly into Li Zhongjiu's hands. At that time, it was very convenient for Li Zhongjiu to get something. After all, his strength was there. What? You have the sun god power? Yin Qi stood up from her seat directly. Han Shuang and Han Shui also closed the doors and windows very sensibly and retreated. When it came to the divine sun-moon technique, it was not something they could listen to. Only Li Zhongjiu and Palace Master Yin Qi were left in the whole room. Li Zhongjiu did not try to hide anything. He handed the copy of the divine skill of sun and moon that he had copied from his memory to Yin Qi. When Yin Qi opened the scroll in her hand and read a few lines casually, she knew that the thing in her hand was definitely the real thing. It was an orthodox cultivation method. It was in Li Zhongjiu's hand. No, she was holding it in her hand now. A long time ago, Zixuan court's strength was quite good. But a series of things later, even the sects present. Even now, only a few peoples wandering around. It was very difficult to preserve the sect's books, preserve this cultivation method, even this cultivation method. Now Zixuan court was already on the path of decline. The palace master of Mystic Sensitivity Palace wanted to rely on an even more powerful force in order to restore Zixuan court's former glory. This was clearly a matter of a lamb entering the tiger's den. How could there be such a good thing? It was obvious just by thinking about it. But the people under Palace Master Xian, Min, didn't have much contact with Palace Master Yin Qi's people. The great Zixuan court didn't collapse under the crisis of the poison cult in Nanjiang. On the contrary, the current situation caused them to be in an irreversible crisis. It also made Palace Master Yin Qi very sad. The fall of the Pavilion Master also made it difficult for the people below to gather together, because Yin Qi and Xian Min had the same status and power. Both of them had the chance to become the new Pavilion Master. Since neither of them was willing to yield to the other, they could only be in a stalemate. Xian Min's strength was increasing little by little. Originally, Yin Qi could rely on the ninth prince to cushion her a little. But now the ninth prince was also disabled, so Yin Qi's defeat was inevitable. But all this was before Li Zhongjiu appeared. After Li Zhongjiu appeared, or it could be said that after the appearance of the divine power of sun and moon, the situation would be completely reversed. With the power of the divine power of sun and moon in his hand, this was something that had been lost since the great ancestor. Without a doubt, anyone who cultivated this divine power of sun and moon would have to call him Pavilion Master. If Yin Qi cultivated it, he would become the new Pavilion Master of Zixuan court. This was also the great ancestor's instruction. Now that it fell into Yin Qi's hands, it made Yin Qi very excited. He thought that Zixuan court finally had a chance to be reunited. Yin Qi was secretly happy, but at this critical moment, he realized where the problem was. Li Zhongjiu didn't know where he got this divine power of sun and moon from. Now he took it out and gave it to her. Obviously he wanted something. For such a valuable item, the price to obtain it was naturally quite high. Yin Qi forcibly suppressed the excitement in his heart, and gently put the divine power of sun and moon scroll in his hand on the table. Young Master Li, what are your conditions? Please tell me. Although he put it down, the fire in Yin Qi's eyes was real. As long as Li Zhongjiu's request didn't exceed his bottom line, he would agree even if he had to suffer a loss. If he thought about it carefully, Li Zhongjiu was a little young, but with such qualifications and his current status, it seemed that he wouldn't suffer too much. Immediately, Yin Qi took a deep breath, as if he was waiting for Li Zhongjiu to speak, and then he pretended to think about it. He couldn't agree immediately. What I want is very simple. You can be the pavilion master of Zixuan court, and maintain a good cooperative relationship with White Deer Manor. Li Zhongjiu said lightly. As for the act of annexing other forces, Li Zhongjiu had never thought about it. On the one hand, it was troublesome to do so, and on the other hand, the effect wasn't good. He just needed these forces to help each other in the early stage. That was why Li Zhongjiu came to Zixuan court. Li Zhongjiu had offended many forces, but there were even more forces that were willing to cooperate with Li Zhongjiu. Therefore, Li Zhongjiu also needed to choose some forces that could help increase the power of the Li family, and correspondingly, it would be more comfortable to cooperate with them. Otherwise, in the Holy Flame Royal City, there would be countless people who wanted to cooperate with Li Zhongjiu. At least, before Li Zhongjiu's potential was squeezed out, they would be extremely willing to cooperate with Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu didn't need these ingrates either. It would be troublesome to deal with them one by one. What do you mean? Yin Qi didn't understand Li Zhongjiu's meaning. When he said this, it didn't seem like there was much that he needed to be responsible for. But what did he mean by maintaining a good cooperative relationship? This was even more thought-provoking. Your Zixuan court's intelligence network is blessed by the heavens. In the future, it will definitely develop into the #1 intelligence network of the Shungyan dynasty. When that time comes, I will naturally need you. Right now, you should just focus on increasing your own strength. If Zixuan court continues to be this weak, even if it's not destroyed by our own people, it will be destroyed by others sooner or later. Li Zhongjiu said, looking at Yin Qi in front of him with an extremely calm expression. There was no hint of mockery in his words. Instead, it was an extremely accurate statement. Yin Qi was very unhappy when he heard this. Wasn't this cursing Zixuan court? Tonight, I want you to help me imprison 2 people. I know about your ability to control people. Control these 2 people. Who are they? The top assassins of the Heike dynasty. When you completely control these 2 people and combine them with your information, I believe that they will become a sharp knife. Li Zhongjiu said. The ancient Zong family? Yin Qi asked in surprise. With just a few words, he had already obtained such important information and analyzed it. Yes, gathering the top assassins and the top intelligence network. Yin Qi already had a general idea of what Li Zhongjiu wanted to do. Chapter 981. Outside the city, Xizhuang town, a caravan was ready to set off. Just as they were about to set off, 2 guards suffered from diarrhea. Therefore, they only found 2 people in Xizhuang town. After all, with so many things, they would need manpower to unload them one by one. Everything is ready. Let's go. The destination of this trip was to deliver goods to a family in the sacred Flame Royal City. The goods were also some frozen meat and beast bones, so it was more concealed. The caravan was also in a long formation. Looking at it, it was a black mass. A caravan of this size could only be considered a medium-sized caravan. If they encountered a large-scale caravan, they would be like a small army. Zhang Yishang and Zhang Feng mixed in with the caravan. They repackaged themselves and returned to the sacred Flame Royal City. Even if Li Zhongjiu was extremely powerful, It would be impossible for him to discover them so easily. Moreover, they had already obtained some information about Li Zongjio. Now they knew why they fell so quickly. How unlucky. How would I know that Li Zongjio owns a casino? Boyu Casino was Li Zongjio's territory. The moment they walked in, Li Zongjio had already seen through them. It was not that their disguise skills were not good enough, but that they were too unlucky. Now that they had come out and walked around, it was not a problem to disguise themselves and return. Li Zongjio's methods would not be able to reach the heavens in the sacred flame royal city. The premise was that he had someone to help him. Both of them were top-notch assassins, and they were also very traditional assassins. This was the education they had received. If they could avoid making a move, they would definitely not. Everything was done in a low-key manner. If they made a move directly, they would not be assassins, but bandits and robbers. There were rules in this line of work. The two of them followed the caravan and entered the city when the sun was about to set. After entering the city, someone in the caravan gave Zhang Yishang a note. There was an address written on it. Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion? This place sounds expensive. Zhang Yishang and Zhang Feng looked at each other and nodded. However, he had finally passed this hurdle. Now that they had avoided Li Zongjio's eyes, they could finally show off their skills and completely take down the person. They had a thorough plan. After killing the person, they had to leave without a trace. Every business deal was a form of art. This was not something that could be easily achieved. It depended on the individual's skill. The two of them walked to the front of the Spring Flowers and Autumn Moon Pavilion and stopped at the entrance to take a look. In case it's a trap, I'll go in first. You stay at the entrance and buy something from the other side, Buried Night Sorrow said in a deep voice. In fact, these two top-notch assassins didn't have much experience in roaming the underworld. Most of the time, they stayed deep in the mountains and forests to cultivate. After all, if they didn't cultivate enough strength, they couldn't leave the mountains. In addition, the order itself was to kill, so the experience gained from killing people was even less. Therefore, before carrying out the mission, the methods that kept them alive were mostly things that they had learned from their families. After all, it was impossible to have so much combat experience. Zhang Feng nodded when he heard this. Then he walked towards the opposite street. Burying Night Sorrow walked into the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion alone. One could imagine the result that awaited him. After entering, there was no sound. Zhang Feng, who was waiting outside, frowned. Why is there no sound at all after entering for so long? This made Zhang Feng puzzled. It's been too long. Could something have happened? Zhang Feng thought to himself. Wait, why does this place look so similar to? At this moment Zhang Feng's eyes lit up. He seemed to have realized that the place in front of him was similar to the legendary place. Damn, no wonder I had to wait outside. After Zhang Feng saw that the Spring Flowers and Autumn Moon Pavilion should be the legendary brothel, he understood why Buried Night Sorrow had asked him to wait outside. On the spot, Zhang Feng rushed in without hesitation. At this moment, Burying Night Sorrow was already tied up. He was in the secret underground room of the Spring Flowers and Autumn Moon Pavilion, and there were some spells carved on his body. Ah, you damned bitches, let me go! Buried Night Sorrow roared furiously. He originally wanted to trick Zhang Feng out, so that he could have some fun and mingle with the people of the Xingyan dynasty. Who would have thought that as soon as he entered, he would see the person he didn't want to see the most? At least for now. Li Zongjio. Without a second word, Buried Night Sorrow was taken down again. This time, he didn't use any killing methods. He didn't even have time to escape before he was taken down by Taifai and his men. Li Zongjio rewarded him with a soulless talisman. This time, Li Zongjio specifically inserted the soulless talisman into a part of his body. It would take at least 7 days to dissolve it. 7 days was enough for Yun Qi to finish carving the spell. When Zhang Feng rushed in, Taifai and his men had been waiting here for a long time. It's you again. Zhang Feng couldn't help but want to attack. However, he remembered that his family had taught him not to attack unless it was absolutely necessary. Fuck you. I won't let you catch me. In an instant, Zhang Feng defeated the 6 Yuan monarchs who had rushed up. The 6 of them were instantly sent flying. Boom! The 6 of them lost their ability to fight and fell to the ground. He's running away. Catch him. The rest of the men shouted. They immediately chased after him. However, Zhang Feng's figure was like a phantom as he quickly flew past them. It wasn't suitable for him to escape from the door. He would definitely be heavily guarded by the other party. Zhang Feng immediately jumped toward the window on the second floor. By the time Zhang Feng's figure had already rushed to the window on the second floor, the people below were still unable to react. Do you think trash like you can catch me? Zhang Feng sneered. When he turned around, he saw a man around his age standing not far away. If you can escape from me, I will let you go, Li Zhongjiu said nonchalantly. These words angered Zhang Feng. We are all around the same age. Even I am not so arrogant. What gives you the right to be so arrogant? Just thinking about it made him unhappy. Zhang Feng was different from Zhang Yishang. He wasn't as tolerant as Zhang Yishang. He was about to be killed. Yet he was still hiding his strength. Wasn't that stupid? Since you Li Zhongjiu want to compete, then come at me. Just as well. I can also complete this mission. Zhang Feng took out his dagger. Every assassin had their own personal dagger. Zhang Feng's dagger was a dagger that he had painstakingly saved up for 10 years to get the elders of his family to refine. Even the defense of a level 6 yuan beast was like soft tofu in front of this dagger. Chapter 982. Zhang Feng could no longer tolerate Li Zhongjiu's arrogance. He had to use his true means to let Li Zhongjiu know how powerful he was. The rest of the Zixuan court disciples were also hiding in the dark and did not participate in this battle. This battle had nothing to do with them, so they only needed to watch. At the same time, they also wanted to observe how powerful the legendary Li Zhongjiu was. He had just captured a person, so this young man now looked more handsome. His abilities also seemed to be better. This person defeated 6 Yuan monarch experts in an instant, and those people couldn't do anything to him. If young Master Li didn't make a move, this person might still have escaped. I wonder how strong this man is compared to young Master Li. Many people were also very interested in Zhang Feng, who dared to face Li Zhongjiu head-on. Zhang Feng tried his best to find a loophole in Li Zhongjiu's aura. However, Li Zhongjiu's aura was like a flawless sphere. There were no flaws in all directions. This made Zhang Feng feel very troubled. Unlike what his family had taught him, everyone's aura had a weakness, and this was their weakness. As long as he grasped this weakness, he would be successful in every endeavor. Therefore, Zhang Feng also tried his best to find Li Zhongjiu's weakness, only to discover that Li Zhongjiu's defense was natural. Since you don't have a weakness, I'll force it out. Sometimes it was normal to not have a weakness. However, as long as one moved, a weakness would definitely appear. This was the time to succeed. Zhang Feng's figure immediately turned into an afterimage. His figure instantly hid in the darkness. Whoosh! His trace disappeared. He disappeared right in front of everyone's eyes just like that. Tai-Fi and the others widened their eyes. The people who had fallen to the ground just now also got up with difficulty. They hadn't been able to react in time and had been directly knocked down. The other party's speed was so fast that it made them speechless. Even their opponents' attacking methods were unclear to them. They were completely unable to grasp their opponent's attack patterns. He disappeared. How fast? Protect the young master. Someone shouted loudly, but he was pulled down by someone else. What's there to protect with your meager strength? When the time comes, you won't even know how you died. In the blink of an eye, Li Zhongjiu stood rooted to the ground, as if he had lost his sense of direction. At this moment Zhang Feng, who had disappeared, suddenly appeared. There was more than one. 3 figures. Although he knew that one of them was definitely a clone, there was no way to distinguish which one was the real body. When the 3 daggers were about to stab Li Zhongjiu was stunned. However, Li Zhongjiu's figure suddenly passed by the 3 figures and directly headed towards the darkness. Behind a pillar, he directly grabbed it with his hand. Pa! Immediately, a figure on the pillar flew into the distance. He actually saw through it. What kind of eyes does this kid have? Even Zhang Feng hadn't expected that Li Zhongjiu would be able to see through his move. His body concealment technique could at least be ranked in the top 10 within the family. Even the family's elders said that he'd practiced it to the point of being as pure as fire. However, in front of Li Zongjio, he still didn't stand a chance. He was directly seen through by the other party. Wasn't that embarrassing? As an assassin, if even his tracks were known by others, then it was considered a failure. Therefore, he had to retreat and couldn't fight head-on. In terms of speed, I Zongfeng have never been afraid of anyone. Get down. As soon as Zongfeng boasted, Li Zongjio directly grabbed his pants. Fuck. Zongfeng's face instantly revealed extreme astonishment. In the next second, he lost control of his strength and fell from the air to the ground floor. Bang! The entire floor trembled, and all the floorboards were directly shattered. The floor was just put up. This fall made the girls from Zishuan Court nervous. Now, it seemed that the floor that was just put up was now completely ruined. The one that was truly ruined was Zongfeng, who fell to the ground. The latter wanted to get up, but he discovered that he couldn't move his body anymore. Crap, my bones are broken. Zongfeng didn't even have time to attack before he lost the ability to fight. In this state, Zongfeng closed his eyes in hatred, not daring to accept this reality. Drag him down. Li Zongjio landed on the ground and said. At this moment, everyone could see it. Zongfeng and Li Zongjio weren't on the same level at all. Zongfeng already used his full strength, but he couldn't even escape from Li Zongjio's palm and was instantly killed. With this kind of strength, it was better for him not to be arrogant in front of Li Zongjio. Get your palace master to settle the matter within 7 days. Then, I will give you half a month's time to train. After half a month, I will need it. I need to use that half a month, Li Zongjio said to the people from Zishuan Court. Then, he didn't wait for the people from Zishuan Court to respond. It seemed that after he gave them some instructions, this matter was considered clear. If they didn't do as he said, there would definitely be bad consequences. These girls from Zishuan Court were only responsible for bringing the message to Yunqi. Yunqi naturally knew what to do. Among the people from Zishuan Court, there was a special method that could control men and use them for their own purposes. However, this method was extremely complicated, so they wouldn't use it under normal circumstances. Only Li Zongjio knew that Yunqi and the others had this method. Therefore, he captured these two top-notch assassins. Find a few people and put their floor back up. Li Zongjio instructed Taifai. Since they attacked in other people's territory, they naturally had to fix the things they broke. Otherwise, wouldn't they become bandits who bullied others? Yes, young master. Taifai quickly arranged this matter. For the few people who were injured today, Li Zongjio rewarded each of them with a 5th-level medicinal pill. The rest of the people received a considerable commission as a reward. This immediately made the rest of the people extremely envious. If they had known earlier, they would have rushed to the front. Their injuries weren't serious at all. But if they wanted to get this 5th-level medicinal pill, they didn't know how much they would have to pay to get it. As for those who were injured, they were naturally delighted. They didn't expect to have such an unexpected and rich harvest. It was simply unimaginable. If something like this happened next time, they would be even more courageous. The 5th-level medicinal pill that Li Zongjio casually rewarded was enough to cover half a year of their cultivation. Following a super powerful alchemist boss like Li Zongjio would definitely have a promising future. After dismissing everyone, Li Zongjio returned to Bailu Manor alone. On the way, he passed by the Qi family's courtyard and took the time to go in and have a cup of tea. Since Li Zongjio threw Hua Qing from the Hua family onto the street, everyone knew that the Qi family's daughter was Li Zongjio's woman. If they wanted to provoke her, they had to weigh their own strength first. Chapter 983. White Deer Manor. Li Zongjio came back to meet Zheng Haoran and the others. The two sides also had their first conversation. This time, Xiao Zhao was also on the side. After all, Xiao Zhao was more aware of the resources in White Deer Manor than Li Zongjio. At the same time, Li Zongjio also talked about some of the new warships 3,000 years later. Zheng Kong and the others were indeed the top warship designers. With just a little guidance, they immediately learned some things from it. When they learned these things, It was as if they were enlightened. If you want to achieve that effect, first of all, the material requirements are very high. The current warships are just coated with a layer of paint on the outside. In essence, some hardwood is still used to complete the main body. If you want to use real gold and iron to complete it, the materials and some key parts of the energy supply must be extremely high. Li Zongjio only told them that most of the warships in the future were made of black iron. In this way, whether it was the defensive power or the collision force, it was quite outstanding. It was completely suspended in the air like an iron wall, absolutely safe. But with the current technology, to achieve this effect, there were still many problems to overcome. But it was not impossible. And Li Zongjio had also said that all the research funds would be provided by White Deer Manor. No matter what they wanted, they just had to say it. Although they did not know how much money Li Zongjio had. However, Li Zongjio's strength as a 6th grade alchemist was there. Even if he didn't have enough money, he could casually transfer the resources from a few big families. The resources that could be used were several times more than the Zheng family. Now the Zheng family was still a slave for the Azure Wave Giant City to become a first-class city. Now if they put this matter aside and put all their energy into researching a new type of flying ship warship, it should not be difficult for the Zheng family to become a first-class city. Zheng Kong and the others seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. His imagination began to run wild. As for the technical aspect, I've made an appointment with someone tomorrow. She should be able to help you. As for the materials, Xiao Zhao, make the arrangements and see if the Qi family can cooperate in this aspect. Li Zongjio said. Yes, young master. I'll arrange it now. Xiao Zhao nodded. The first was materials, the second was technology, and the third was money. All of them were dealt with in an instant. Just do whatever you want. If there's anything you need, you can look for Xiao Zhao. She's my housekeeper. Li Zongjio said. Many thanks to young Master Li for your help. My Zheng family will definitely develop a super strong warship. We definitely won't let young Master Li down. Not to mention the purpose of Li Zongjio's strong support. Just the fact that he was willing to spend money on this was enough to make the Zheng family extremely excited. After all, the Zheng family also relied on this flying boat to make a fortune. If they couldn't improve, they would definitely be overtaken by others. Since they were in the lead, they had to be in the lead step by step. Otherwise, they would be overtaken sooner or later. Li Zongjio was willing to provide such a good opportunity to them. This was enough for the Zheng family. That was why Zheng Kong and the others were so excited. Okay, then you all go and rest first. I'll ask someone to call you tomorrow afternoon. Li Zongjio said. The Zheng family was also very excited throughout the night. It would probably be difficult for them to sleep tonight. Such news was really a dream for them. What's more, Li Zongjio also said that he only needed to have the priority to buy the warship. As for the materials needed and some of the costs, they would have to slowly discuss these things later. What's more, the warship hadn't been developed yet. At the same time, Li Zongjio also said, now the Zheng family's goal was the Shengyan dynasty's Heaven Workshop. It must surpass the craftsmanship of the Heaven Workshop to be considered excellent. Although it was very difficult, it was worth a try. At least for now, they had Li Zongjio as their backing. With the financial resources of the entire White Deer Manor as their backing, it wasn't impossible to achieve such a goal. The next day, the Zheng family also dressed up. Next, they were going to have a formal discussion. Zheng Kong didn't sleep well last night. Later, he simply got up and began to draw the blueprint. Song Ji didn't arrive too early. She only arrived a few minutes early in front of the White Deer Manor. Xiao Zhao went out to welcome her. How have you been? When Song Ji saw Xiao Zhao, her eyes were full of affection. In the past, Xiao Zhao was inseparable from her. When she first lent her to Li Zongjio, she was a little amused to Xiao Zhao's departure. Now the two sisters were extremely busy. They didn't even have much time to communicate with each other. Xiao Zhao had gradually become the real leader of the White Deer Manor. In fact, he was now on equal footing with Song Jiyu. Now that Xiao Zhao was the steward of the White Deer Manor, he had more opportunities to come into contact with Li Zongjio. If someone asked Li Zongjio to refine an elixir or something, they would naturally look for him. Naturally, he was looking for Xiao Zhao. After all, Li Zongjie wasn't someone that anyone could meet just because they wanted to. Not bad. Where's Miss? How have things been? In Xiao Zhao's heart, he respected Song Jiyu. He wouldn't completely forget about her just because he left the 7-star fire room. It's a long story, let's go in first. Song Jiyu only brought an assistant with her. She didn't even bring any guards. If Li Zongjie's place wasn't safe, then there wouldn't be many places in the Sacred Flame Royal City that were safe. At the very least, Song Jiyu believed that no one would come to Li Zongjie's territory to cause trouble. Most of the time, Li Zongjie would go out to look for others. Some of the people who came to Li Zongjie's house to cause trouble had all mysteriously disappeared. This mysterious disappearance was also obvious. They had all been killed. Xiao Zhao led Song Jiyu to the guest hall. Most of the furnishings in the living room were also very old, and each of them was very valuable. Of course, many of them had been snatched. Previously, they had directly plundered the Gu clan's treasury and had more or less found a few valuable items. In addition, they had snatched so many storage rings. There had to be some treasures. With just a glance, Song Jiyu knew that Xiao Zhao's recent improvement had been very good. Otherwise, one would be able to roughly tell the taste of the owner just by looking at the arrangement of these things. If one wanted to become a butler, one would have to learn endless things. In the guest hall, Li Zongjie and the people from the Zheng clan were chatting. Zheng Kong originally thought that Li Zongjie would be an extremely arrogant and domineering person. However, after interacting with Li Zongjie, he realized that Li Zongjie could be described with 3 words. It didn't matter. He had an indifferent attitude towards many things. He was very direct. If there were some things that couldn't be bought with money, he would directly snatch them. It was extremely simple and crude. In terms of ideas, he wouldn't take the initiative to advocate. He only cared about the results. No matter what method was used, it was fine as long as he could achieve his goal. This was Li Zongjie's character. Moreover, Li Zongjie wasn't as fierce as the outside world said. Instead, he was extremely respectful of the opinions of others. He would listen to anything that was said. It was more comfortable to get along with him. It seemed that this fierce side of him could only be enjoyed by his enemies. Young Master Li, it's really rare for you to invite me. Is there anything I can help you with? After Song Jiyu entered, she asked Li Zongjie very directly. After all, Song Jiyu knew that Li Zongjie's character was not the kind of person who liked to beat around the bush. You're here. Let me introduce you. This is Song Jiyu from the 7-star fire room. These are the elders of the Zheng clan from Cerulean Wave Giant City. Song Jiyu looked at the people in front of her. She smiled and nodded at them. Cerulean Wave Giant City. Chapter 984. Song Jiyu also knew about Cerulean Wave Giant City. After all, Cerulean Wave Giant City was considered one of the top second-class cities. Song Jiyu had also interacted with the merchants in Cerulean Wave Giant City before, but it was only a preliminary contact. After all, second-class cities did not necessarily need Song Jiyu to maintain relationships. Even for business connections, there would naturally be agents below to do the handover. It's Miss Song from the 7-star fire room. Naturally, they had heard of Song Jiyu's name. Zheng Haoran was even more clear about it. After all, Song Jiyu was also on the list of beauties in Royal City. This list was made by a boring organization, but it was very popular. However, these people were really daring. If they met some bad-tempered young ladies, they would directly destroy this messy organization. After all, in terms of beauty, no one would admit that they were uglier than others. Zheng Haoran did not dare to imagine that he would be able to sit opposite Song Jiyu one day. Song Jiyu was not only a famous beauty in Royal City, but she was also one of the more famous managers in the Song family. At least in Holy Flame Royal City, when the 7-star fire room was mentioned, Song Jiyu would be the first to come to mind. To think that she could be related to the Song family of the 7-star fire room. Now the two families were even talking about cooperation with each other. It was equivalent to putting them on the same level. It was simply unimaginable. After all, the Zheng family was only a second-class city's family. Compared to the families in first-class cities, they were still relatively weaker. The Song family was a big family in Royal City. They were even more powerful. The shops of the 7-star fire room were also opened all over the Royal City. Just the scale alone was not something they could imagine. Li Zongjiu also briefly explained his purpose to Song Jiyu. Song Jiyu was indeed a leader in this industry. With a few simple sentences, she understood Li Zongjiu's intention. The worship industry is indeed a very advanced industry. If a few families join forces, it might not be impossible. Song Jiyu's eyes were also shining. Just yesterday, she was still thinking about how to improve herself and expand her industry. If she stayed in the same place, it would be difficult to create many flowers. In the future, there will definitely be a place for flying boats. Currently, there are relatively few types of weapons on flying boats and warships. After all, the 7-star fire room is in the yuan weapon industry. If they can develop more yuan weapons suitable for warships, they will definitely be able to defeat people in the future. Zheng Kong said, if one wanted to arm a warship and make it more powerful, one would need a variety of origin tools that could be equipped on the warship. Currently, the origin tools that could be provided on the market were relatively few. Most of the origin tools were developed by oneself. This made it seem a little difficult to make ends meet. After all, the Zheng family was not very good at weapons. Professional matters should be left to the professionals. Not bad. Song Jiyu and Zheng Kong could be said to be eloquent, chatting endlessly. The designers of the Zheng family were so excited that they even took out the blueprints they had kept for many years. This is the multi-directional shooting cannon that I have been studying. It can be controlled by yuan qi and can be turned 180 degrees. It is attached to both sides of the warship. Even if it is surrounded, there is no need to be afraid. I also have a plan here. Li Zongjiu naturally could not stand such a thing. He did not understand what these people were talking about. Of course, Li Zongjiu did not need to understand. It was enough for them to understand. How is the Qi family? Li Zongjiu found Xiao Zhao and asked. The Qi family said that they will send a special person to the manor. Oh, who will they send? Li Zongjiu could not help but ask. Me. A figure came in through the door. It was Qi Yanran. The few people who were in the midst of conversation also stopped what they were doing. Song Jiyu also looked at Qi Yanran. This was the woman who had won Li Zongjiu's heart. It was not a big deal to know this news. After all, Li Zongjiu threw the young master of the Hua family on the road for Qi Yanran. It had long been well known, and Song Jiyu also knew it. Before this, Song Jiyu had not seen Qi Yanran much. After all, Qi Yanran had always been in a state of cultivation, under the protection of the Qi family. The outside world knew very little about Qi Yanran. When Song Jiyu looked over, Qi Yanran also looked at Song Jiyu. After all, Song Jiyu's beauty naturally could not be concealed. The two smiled and nodded to each other. Who is this person? Zheng Kong asked Song Jiyu in a low voice. Qi Yanran, the eldest daughter of the Qi family, and the future mistress of Bailu Manor. Song Jiyu responded. The meaning was very obvious. Unless Li Zongjiu abandoned Qi Yanran and didn't want to be with her, then it was hard to say. The future mistress. When he heard this, Zheng Haoran's eyes revealed shock and admiration for Li Zongjiu, not to mention the admiration in his eyes. It could be described as prostrating himself in admiration. My God, the boss is so handsome. He deserves to be my boss. This made Zheng Haoran's admiration for Li Zongjiu even more. Previously, he could only see that Li Zongjiu's strength must be very strong. Perhaps one day, Li Zongjiu would be able to protect him. However, Zheng Haoran absolutely did not expect that Li Zongjiu could be so powerful. It was really enviable that he could win the heart of the Qi family's eldest daughter. Hello everyone. As the representative of the Qi family, I will discuss matters with you. If you need any help from the Qi family, just let me know. Qi Yanran sat down graciously. Li Zongjiu also smiled knowingly. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't be convenient for Qi Yanran to move into the White Deer Manor. Otherwise, she would definitely be gossiped about if word of it got out. However, this was different. She was here to discuss matters, and to discuss cooperation. There was no other meaning in it. At least, this could be considered as a reason to spread the news. She could live in the White Deer Manor openly. It was also a routine inspection to see if Li Zongjie was obedient, or if he was up to any other tricks. After the people of the three parties met, they introduced themselves again. Among these people, Zheng Haoran felt the most comfortable calling her sister-in-law. However, Qi Yanran also knew that she had to be careful of Song Jiyu. Song Jiyu was also a stunning beauty, and her ability was not much worse than Qi Yanran's. Although she was not a cultivator, she was definitely stronger than Qi Yanran in some aspects. If Qi Yanran were to take care of the 7-star fire room, it would not be long before the 7-star fire room would be closed down. This was the so-called specialization in the field. Chapter 985. A warship research facility was temporarily set up in the White Deer Manor. Qi Yanran didn't live in the White Deer Manor, but she came here more often. Not only that, he would often work in the White Deer Manor until late into the night before returning home. Sometimes, he would even spend the night in the manor. Song Jiyu also came here often and secretly sent a weapon research master to participate in the research. On the other side, the people from the Purple Xian Pavilion had also completely controlled Zhang Yishang and Zhang Feng. However, they still needed some time to stabilize the control of the incantation. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. The research facility already had some preliminary results. Li Zongjie had been cultivating obediently these days and didn't go out to cause trouble. However, the Sacred Flame Royal City was a little lively recently. It was time for the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor to recruit students. In the past, the recruitment of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was a big event. However, it was a little different this year. First of all, the Longevity Pavilion bought a manor in the Sacred Flame Royal City and opened a branch academy. Similarly, they also recruited students. This was something that had never happened before. Logically speaking, a transcendent sect like the Longevity Pavilion generally didn't care about these resources. However, they jumped out now, which showed that they were starting to panic. Ever since the Heavenly Pill Pavilion took out the results last time, they were already in a strong state and were ready to go. Many rich people also started to cooperate with the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. Moreover, they gave great support to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. There were also some alchemy enthusiasts who chose to join the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. The requirements to join the Heavenly Pill Pavilion weren't high yet. As long as you could pass the first-grade alchemist examination, you were qualified to join the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. However, in the future this matter was uncertain. Some people who were extremely sharp also chose to join one after another. Now they could also enjoy certain benefits. Moreover, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was now rich and overbearing. They gave every alchemist a different standard of free medicinal herbs for a month. As long as they needed it, they could go to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion to get the medicinal herbs for that month. There were also some subsidies of gold yuan. After all, there were some people who went bankrupt in order to concoct pills. Of course, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion had to support such people and promote them well. Even some people who were not interested in concocting pills came to try their luck. In order to make a name for themselves and truly expand their influence, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion would even look for an alchemist from a poor family every month to fully support them. This gave many people a feeling. As long as you like to refine pills, as long as you know how to refine pills, you don't need to worry about anything else. The Heavenly Pill Pavilion will take care of everything for you. Li Zongjie, as the senior brother of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, what's wrong with standing up for yourself? Let me tell you, you haven't graduated yet. A beautiful woman with fiery red hair said in front of Li Zongjie. Looking at her posture, if Li Zongjie refused to go with her, she would definitely not let him go. You're just going to sit around at the registration area and expand your influence. Now that the people from the Longevity Pavilion have come out, can you bear to watch? Let me ask you, can you bear to watch? They're really too arrogant. Li Zongjie flipped through a book in his hand. Recently, Li Zongjie had been looking for some information about the sacred martial realm. In the past, Li Zongjie had a relatively good understanding of the sacred martial continent. However, he knew little about the sacred martial realm. After all, it wasn't easy to cross the wilderness. However, the remnant soul of the sage realm expert in the Azura cauldron made Li Zongjio understand that the sacred martial continent was just a small place. In the sacred martial realm, even sage realm experts had to flee for their lives. Therefore, in order to avoid encountering some things in the sacred martial realm in the future, reaching the supremacy realm was just the beginning. There were far more powerful existences. Li Zongjio wanted to make preparations in advance and obtain more information. Why do you have to look for me for this kind of thing? Why don't you just ask Kuan Erishur to go? Li Zongjio was being pestered to death by Ling Yan. He wanted Li Zongjio to appear for a moment. At least, he wanted others to know that Li Zongjio was not only an honorary elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, but also a student of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. He came out of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Although Li Zongjio had never attended a class in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, he had always escaped whenever he could. Kuan Erishur, that brat isn't famous enough. Who in the alchemy world doesn't know your name, Li Zongjio? Let me tell you, that guy from the Longevity Pavilion is really arrogant. He actually set up a great array in the Southern City Plaza, saying that anyone who can withstand his attack for a minute will be qualified to cultivate in the Longevity Pavilion. Brother from the Southern City, they're clearly targeting our Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. They're here to snatch people. Ling Yan was impatient. He was also incomparably angry at the actions of those from the Longevity Pavilion. They were too arrogant, but there was no other way. After all, they had contracted the entire arena. Moreover, for this year's enrollment, all the academies were gathered in the recruitment plaza. The Snowy Origin was also a fair competition, with on-site registration and on-site assessment. How about this? I'll send someone to help you kill them. This way, they won't be able to recruit people. Li Zongjio said. He was the dignified evil lord Li Zongjio. How could he become a signboard and show his face? Such an action was too degrading. Li Zongjio couldn't do it. Recently, Qi Yanran seemed to have been summoned back by the Four Seas Medicine Manor. After all, the Four Seas Medicine Manor could be considered as Qi Yanran's alma mater. Summoning Qi Yanran back would allow them to recruit more talents when school started. In short, based on the current situation, this year's enrollment was extremely fierce. As for what kind of people they could recruit, that was secondary. The most important thing was that the number of people registered in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor couldn't be less. If there were less, how could they explain it? How could they face others? Would they still want their face? What's the use of this? Unless you annihilate the entire Longevity Pavilion. Ling Yan said. That won't do. It's not enough. Let me tell you, a new pill palace has been established recently. They're also snatching people from us. You should annihilate them too. Their name seems to be even more arrogant. What's it called? Azure Sea Academy. Ling Yan said. This Azure Sea Academy had both elemental energy teaching and alchemy teaching. Obviously, this method was very unusual. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so easy to obtain these two teaching qualifications. Azure Sea Academy? When Li Zongjio heard this name, he was stunned for a moment. Yes, don't you think they're very arrogant? If my Heavenly Star Medicine Manor doesn't show its might, these people really think that they're going to ascend to the heavens. Ling Yan said fiercely. You're an academy. There are so many good places in the world, but you chose to come to Sacred Flame Royal City. Wouldn't that increase the pressure on the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor? The Azure Sea Academy has been established so quickly? Shouldn't it be 10 years later? Li Zongjio frowned. If he didn't remember wrongly, the Azure Sea Academy would appear about 10 years later in his previous life. In just 2 years, it had become an existence that could compete with the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor and Imperial Martial Manor. They were ranked as the 3 great academies. However, anyone could see that the Azure Sea Academy was able to fight 1 against 2. This was absolute strength. Chapter 986. Later on, when the reputation of the Azure Ocean Academy spread, it also cultivated many outstanding talents. In his previous life, Li Zhongjiu only knew that behind the Azure Ocean Academy, there was an ancient sect. Even the strength of an ancient sect was not simple. It even had a good relationship with the sect behind the Xingyan dynasty. They had only been in seclusion for many years, so it was normal for them to want to appear and make a comeback. However, after the emergence of the Azure Ocean Academy, this meant that in the future, the strength of the Xingyan dynasty would increase by leaps and bounds. Many hidden experts would also appear, and with the appearance of some geniuses, it would form a phenomenon of a blowout. Those who appeared would be true experts and geniuses. I'm not free today. I need to refine a medicinal ingredient. I'll go with you tomorrow, Li Zhongjiu said. There were many ways to refine pills. In the past, Li Zhongjiu was refining pills alone. However, now that Li Zhongjiu was refining these pills, there were many disciples of the Li family under him. He just needed to distribute some medicinal ingredients and let them refine them. In the end, Li Zhongjiu only needed to gather these medicinal liquids, and it would be easier and faster for him to refine some pills. Okay, no problem. I'll send someone to pick you up tomorrow. Don't forget, the southern square is now divided into the enrollment square. All the academies are recruiting students there. Hearing Li Zhongjiu agree, Ling Yan was naturally very happy. Now, Ling Yan was in charge of more important matters, and almost all of his efforts were invested in the business of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Although the Heavenly Pill Pavilion had a good cooperation with the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, one was an institution of the dynasty, while the other was an institution. They did not participate in any disputes of interest in the Jianghu. Therefore, when 100 flowers bloomed, they were naturally the happiest. Of course, they would not help or attack either side. Of course, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was happy to see competition in the alchemy industry. If they were to be monopolized by one party, they would definitely go downhill over time. Only through intense competition could the industry be guaranteed to progress. Thus, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion did not say anything about the Longevity Pavilion's provocation. Instead, they were waiting to watch a good show. The next day, City South Square. It could be said that the number of future students today was the highest. The entire square was filled with people. Some people were holding registration forms in their hands as they lined up in a long line. A student could only apply for 3 academies. If they didn't pass any of the 3 academies, they could only return home. As such, some people came to take a gamble. Basically, they would choose between the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor and the Imperial Martial Pavilion. Of course, the appearance of the Longevity Pavilion and the Azure Ocean Academy gave these students more options to consider. Some of them even wanted to try their luck. After all, the strength of the Longevity Pavilion seemed to be quite good. After all, it was a hidden super sect. If they graduated from the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor, they might have to find a job for themselves. However, in this sect, the benefits would allow them to cultivate until they were old. In comparison, more people were more interested in the Longevity Pavilion. After all, the requirements of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor were too high and too strict. It was very likely that they would be cannon fodder. Furthermore, it seemed that the person in charge of the recruitment this time around hated the Longevity Pavilion to the core. Anyone who filled in the Longevity Pavilion's registration form was basically eliminated. In other words, you could only choose between the Longevity Pavilion and the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor. If you registered for the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor and were eliminated, then you could participate in the selection of the Longevity Pavilion. More often than not, the Longevity Pavilion would not accept you. In any case, the 2 academies were facing each other head-on. The Longevity Pavilion came to the Xingyan dynasty to recruit students and directly established the Longevity Medicine Manor. They established the Longevity Medicine Manor in the Sacred Flame Royal City. It was indeed understandable. The Longevity Pavilion came for the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor. The competition between the 2 kings was naturally extremely intense. Both the open and covert confrontations were even more frightening. Will Li Zhongjiu really come today? In the recruitment courtyard of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor, a few senior and junior sisters, who were in charge of some matters, were chatting with each other. Yesterday, when instructor Ling Yan came back, Her face was full of arrogance. And I heard that she went there and said some harsh words. It should be true. Speaking of which, I haven't seen this Li Zongjio before. I heard that he's very powerful. He stirred up trouble in the city and killed many people. A few girls were chattering away. Just as they were chatting, Ling Yan also walked out with an arrogant face. Go and open the door. I've already asked someone to call Li Zongjio over. The two of you, go to the arena and see if the Longevity Pavilion's flag is still there. If it's still there, pull it out. Ling Yan said. Ah, instructor, if you pull out the flag, it means that you have to challenge them. Yes, instructor. Think twice before you do it. This is not a joke. The other party will definitely put the flag back at all costs. What a joke. Such a big arena, only their flag is allowed. What qualifications do they have to put up in arena? Don't worry. When Li Zongjio comes, he will definitely beat them all down. Ling Yan said with a cold smile. When they went yesterday, Ling Yan said that he would only let Li Zongjio walk around here and show his face. This way, everyone would know that Li Zongjio was here. After all, this was the celebrity effect. When they saw him, those young people would definitely rush in excitedly. This kind of thing was common. But how could Ling Yan let Li Zongjio be so relaxed? Of course, he had to find something for this guy to do. As for the person who set up the arena, it seemed that the person in charge was an elder-level expert. He was at least a 5th-grade alchemist, or maybe even stronger. After all, he was so young. If the disciples of Heavenly Star Medicine Manor went up, they would definitely lose. Even if Ling Yan rushed up, he might not have an absolute chance of winning. Moreover, Ling Yan was an instructor. If he took the initiative to rush up, it would really be considered as a provocation. The two sides might become extremely fierce. However, Li Zongjio's actions were different. One must know that Li Zongjio was only a student of Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. This year, he was only a second-year student. Li Zongjio's strength was stronger than Ling Yan. If he went up and defeated the opponent's elder, would these people be willing to give up the Longevity Pavilion or the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor? When the time comes, Ling Yan would announce that he would expand the enrollment quota and ensure that the entrance of the Longevity Pavilion would be clean, causing trouble in front of her Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Didn't they see who was in charge now? This was Ling Yan's idea. His heart was even more delighted. Those few girls listened, and in order to boost their courage, they grabbed a few boys and went together. One of them was called Mu Qingyun. Chapter 987. White Deer Manor. Early in the morning, a girl with a long ponytail came. Compared to a year ago, she looked more mature. You must be Miss Gong Jiu from Heavenly Day Medicine Manor. Please come in. Lu Pei came to welcome her. Gong Jiu walked in curiously, looking at the White Deer Manor. Gong Jiu's life was not as rich and exciting as Li Zongjio's. As a second-year student, Gong Jiu also needed to put her energy into cultivation. That was why she was able to advance smoothly. After she advanced, she also needed to work harder to graduate successfully. During the holidays, she would also return to the family for a few days. At the same time, Gong Jiu also chose to come and help with the enrollment for credits. After all, there were only so many students in Heavenly Day Medicine Manor. The enrollment was more troublesome, so they naturally needed the help of these people. Compared to other schools, the number of students in Heavenly Day Medicine Manor was indeed too small. My name is Lu Pei. I'm a guard in this manor. Young master is still refining pills. Miss Gong Jiu, please wait here for a moment. Lu Pei said. After half retiring from the city guard army to come here, his strength alone had increased by an unknown number of realms. Therefore, the change in strength was quite terrifying. Letting Lu Pei stay in White Deer Manor was also very comfortable and carefree. Even if these trivial matters needed Lu Pei to deal with, he was willing to do it. No matter where you are, you won't be able to get such a big improvement. Moreover, when Xiao Zhao went out to do things, Lu Pei needed to accompany and protect him. However, there were fewer people in the city who didn't know what was good for them. After Li Zongjio crippled the Gu family, the people in the city understood the strength of White Deer Manor. Even if there were some conflicts in the negotiations, they wouldn't use too much violence to resolve them, because there were a few times White Deer Manor inadvertently showed the existence of the primitive emperor-level soul beast in the back mountain. And there was more than one. This was the most shocking thing. It made people feel extremely shocked about the strength of White Deer Manor. Therefore, even if they couldn't cooperate, at least the relationship between them wouldn't be too unpleasant. They would always leave some leeway. After all, they would meet in the future. And who knew when they would meet again? Gong Jiu didn't even have time to ask for someone to summon her before she was invited in. Moreover, she knew her name so accurately, which made Gong Jiu extremely surprised. Sitting in the hall, drinking a cup of tea, Lu Pei also went to report to Li Zhongjiu. Since Gong Jiu had nothing to do, he wandered around the hall, admiring the antique wares placed on the counter. 9 Dragons Jade? My God, didn't this thing go missing 500 years ago? It actually appeared here. Gong Jiu's family had a connection with these antiques. Therefore, in Gong Jiu's eyes, these antiques were very good. He could tell whether these antiques were authentic or not with just a glance. The 9-dragon wall jade carving in front of him was a stunning masterpiece of a master sculptor from 500 years ago. Later on, it was lost after a few hands. He didn't expect to see it again here. Do you like these things? Gong Jiu was carefully observing and admiring the antiques in front of him. Li Zhongjiu's voice came from behind. When did you come? Gong Jiu was a little flustered, like a child who was caught doing something naughty. I just arrived. What's the use of these things? Li Zhongjiu stared at the 9 dragons jade carving for a long time, but couldn't see anything special about it. These broken things could easily be sold at a sky-high price. How could people accept this? Some of these things were even more valuable than one's life. It was simply unbelievable. These things alone are useless. Take the 9 dragons jade carving for example. If you can gather a complete set of it, you will be able to understand the power of the master. Gong Jiu explained. This should be the 7th piece. There are a total of 9 pieces. My family has 7 of them. The 7th piece, the 9 dragons jade carving, and the 9th piece, the flying immortal broken jade, are still missing. I didn't expect you to have one here. After saying that, Gong Jiu looked at Li Zhongjiu. So magical? Li Zhongjiu had never been involved in this industry before. Now that he heard that there was such a relationship, he was slightly surprised. These people were really too free to do anything if they had to gather a set to be effective. However, Li Zhongjiu didn't care about collecting these things. So what if the master was a master? He was just a slightly more powerful spiritual master. Not to mention that he was already dead. Even if he was still alive, he wouldn't be able to do anything in front of Li Zhongjiu. In fact, it's just a gimmick of the master sculptors. However, if you want to sell your 9 dragons jade carving, you can consider selling it to me first. I'll give you a high price. Gong Jiu said with a smile. Then you can just take it. It's just a decoration. Li Zhongjiu took the 9 dragons jade carving and threw it to Gong Jiu. This scared Gong Jiu so much that he quickly reached out to catch it. If it fell to the ground, it would break into pieces. If this thing was broken, there would be no more of it. This won't do. It's too valuable. When Gong Jiu caught the 9 dragons jade carving, he felt that his heart was about to jump out. How could this guy be so rude? It's too dangerous. However, how could he just take away such a valuable thing? This was an out-of-print ancient carving. 500 years ago wasn't a long time, but it wasn't short either. Especially when it came from a master sculptor. Take it. Take me to the recruitment square. Li Zhongjiu waved his hand and said, how much could this broken thing be worth? That won't do. I'll buy it for you at the market price. I only have this much money. I'll give it to you first. As for the rest, I'll go back to my family and get it. Gong Jiu said stubbornly. Then, he handed a small pouch to Li Zhongjiu. This was a Qingquan pouch. There was a small space inside. It wasn't big, but it was enough to store some gold yuan and purple yuan. Li Zhongjiu didn't think much, and took the Qingquan pouch. How much can this be sold for? As he spoke, Li Zhongjiu opened it and took a look. He was dazzled by the number of purple yuan in the Qingquan pouch. Fuck so much. He scanned it with his mental strength. 96 million purple yuan coins. Do you usually bring so much money to school? Li Zhongjie looked at Gong Jiu in shock. More than 90 million purple yuan was more than the price of a 5th grade elixir. If a 6th grade elixir was auctioned, it would be about the same price. I usually bring a certain amount of money with me. I'll buy and sell some antiques to earn some pocket money. These are all earned by me. But the final appraisal of your 9 dragon jade should be about 300 million purple yuan. I'll pay you 270 million purple yuan according to the market price and deduct the appraisal fee. Gong Jiu said. The appraisal fee was 10% of the total price. He couldn't refuse it. Appraisers like them had to rely on this method to survive. As long as this item was appraised by him, after the transaction, they would have to pay. Some of the more overbearing ones would directly ask for a fee during the appraisal. Fuck, these things are so valuable? Li Zhongjie's eyes lit up. If you want to find these antiques, it's easy. In the past, Li Zhongjie had killed and fled all the way. He relied on these ancient tombs to make a fortune. However, back then, Li Zhongjie had only collected some cultivation methods and secret manuals from the tomb. As for the antiques and other things, they were all crushed by his foot. He didn't know that these things were so valuable. Of course, the craftsmanship can't be copied. Moreover, there's the insight of a mental strength master. If you can collect a complete set, the price will be immeasurable. Chapter 988. Li Zhongjie didn't know much about antiques, but it didn't matter. When the time came, he would let Xiao Zhao do some research. Perhaps there would be some benefits. When he was really out of money, or when he suddenly couldn't afford it, he would use these things to exchange for money. For Li Zhongjie, it was also a method. Gong Jiu had been one of the people who had been in charge of Li Zhongjie's exam back then. He had never imagined that Li Zhongjie, who he had been watching back then, would become the poster boy of the Heavenly Day Medicine Manor in the blink of an eye. This made Gong Jiu's heart filled with emotions. At the same time, Gong Jiu also knew that the distance between him and Li Zhongjie could be said to be very far. Just based on the current situation, he already knew that this Li Zhongjie's future was limitless. Even now, he already had a feeling of soaring to the sky. He was afraid that Li Zhongjie would definitely have a place in the top 10 figures of the Xingyan dynasty this year. The two of them came to the recruitment square together. However, they realized that there weren't many people in the recruitment square of Tianqian Medicine Manor. There was only a little junior sister who stayed behind to guard. Where are the others? Gong Jiu walked in and asked. Senior sister, just now teacher Ling Yin asked a few seniors to go and get the flag together. Later on they seemed to be fighting. Then teacher Ling Yin angrily brought people and rushed out. It seemed like she wanted to take revenge. That junior sister was also quite frightened by the scene just now. She knew that Ling Yan's personality was incomparably fiery, but she didn't expect that when she was angry, it would be so terrifying. And just now in Ling Yan's eyes, it seemed like she was going to spit out flames that could eat people. After Ling Yan killed her way out, there was naturally no one in the recruitment square. And it was said that the examinees who came to register were all rushing towards the arena. It became an extremely lively scene. Gong Jiu was also dumbfounded. How did things turn out like this? Li Zhongjie felt that it was normal. With Ling Yan's temper, how long could she hold it in? She would explode at any moment, catching people off guard. Such an outcome was also very normal. Let's go and take a look. Since he was already here, of course he had to go and take a look. If Ling Yan won the fight with others, it would be fine. If he lost, then the problem would be serious. Let's go, let's go. Gong Jiu also hurriedly lifted her skirt and rushed in that direction. When they arrived at the arena, they could already see the black mass of people surging in front of them. Moreover, there were people calling their friends over to watch the show. Quick, go and take a look. There seems to be a fight over there. Oh my God. This is so exciting. I heard that the Longevity Pavilion and the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor are fighting. Really? Then I'll have to take a good look. Immediately, these people rushed out one after another. The people in front of them had already blocked the road. Li Zhongjie and Gong Jiu also used their hidden strength to push the people around them away. Hey, who is it? So unreasonable. Why are you pushing? Can't you see that there are so many people in front of us? There was a brat who seemed to have a bad temper. He even glared at Li Zhongjie. Li Zhongjie did not say anything and directly threw him out. Then, under the astonished gazes of Gong Jiu and the others, he calmly continued to squeeze forward. This was the advantage of being strong. I'm rude and unreasonable. What can you do? In the arena, Ling Yan and the people from the Longevity Pavilion were in a confrontation. Behind the arena was the battle flag of the Longevity Pavilion. Whoever pulled out the battle flag of the Longevity Pavilion meant that they were here to cause trouble. When Mu Qingyan and the others came in the morning, they were ready to cause trouble. However, before they could pull out the battle flag, they were directly humiliated by the people from the Longevity Pavilion. Then there was a competition. The main thing was that the other party actually attacked, sneakily attacking Mu Qingyan and humiliating her in front of everyone. Even with Mu Qingyan's character, she could not stand the provocation of the other party and jumped up to fight with them. The other party relied on their numbers and shamelessly said that this was the cultivation flame array of the sect. No matter how many people there were, their array would always be a 5-man array. Speaking of which, it was extremely shocking to think that they could be so shameless. You juniors are not qualified to fight with me. Get out of my way. Ling Yan looked at the crowd before him coldly. There were 5 disciples from the Longevity Pavilion blocking the front. They seemed to be in a stalemate with Ling Yan and the others. The other party's strength was indeed not bad. Otherwise, Mu Qingyan would not have lost so badly. Teacher, if you are interested in challenging the cultivation flame array of our Longevity Pavilion, you can give it a try. If the few behind you are interested, you can come at me together. The man who was the leader of the Longevity Pavilion looked refined and polite. When he spoke, he was filled with pride. He did not put the people from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor in his eyes. One must know that they were facing a group of teachers and students from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. To think that they would dare to ask them to come at them together. If the few of you can break through our cultivation flame array, you will naturally be able to meet with our elders. Nonsense. The 5 of you just beat up our senior brother Mu. Bullying us with numbers? Don't you have any shame? One of the young ladies looked on and shouted out. Since there were so many people behind her, and teacher Ling Yan was here, there was nothing to be afraid of. It's simple if you want to take down our battle flag. You just have to break the array. If this female teacher can't do it, we can wait. The disciples of the Longevity Pavilion were clearly very confident in themselves. The reputation of the Everlasting Pavilion was not just for show. Although these 5 disciples were disciples of the Everlasting Pavilion, they were all core disciples. In the future, important positions in the Everlasting Pavilion would be given to them. They would be the future leaders of the Everlasting Pavilion. The strength of these people was already above average in the sect. In fact, some of the elders of the sect might not even be a match for them. If they were placed in the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, they would be at least 5 experts of the same level as Ling Yan. Among the teachers, they would be ranked at the top. Naturally, Ling Yan knew that these people were not weak. But if they were to fight, he would not be afraid. However, the seniority did not matter. Even if he won, it was only right to win against these juniors. If he were to accidentally reveal any signs of defeat, it would be the talk of the town. He might even become the talk of the town. It might even have a great impact on the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Just the 5 of you? I can give you some time. Go and call for more people. If you can't do it, you can call your sect master. A voice rang out. When they heard the owner of the voice and what he said, everyone was shocked. Not only did he provoke the disciples of the Longevity Pavilion, he even dared to shamelessly ask them to find the sect master of the Longevity Pavilion. He was simply too arrogant. He was simply too lawless. Hearing this, Ling Yan knew that Li Zhongjie had arrived. Although Ling Yan knew that Li Zhongjie was here, he would definitely not be at a disadvantage. After all, this Li Zhongjie was simply too arrogant. However, Ling Yan did not expect this Li Zhongjie to be so arrogant. He directly challenged the sect master. Even Ling Yan felt that Li Zhongjie was a little too much. Gong Jiu came with Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu went up the stage first. When he heard Li Zhongjiu's words, Gong Jiu almost fell off the stage. He actually dared to say such words. As expected of the arrogant Li Zhongjiu, the expressions of the 5 people on the opposite side immediately changed. Just a moment ago, they were smiling calmly. In the blink of an eye, they gave off a gloomy feeling. Li Zhongjiu was simply courting death. Arrogant. You think you're worthy of our sect master? Even if you ask your father, it's impossible. A man standing at the back said coldly. These words were said without hesitation. He wanted to teach this Li Zhongjiu a lesson. At the very least, he had to refute these words. When the leader heard the words of the person behind him, and saw Li Zhongjiu's expression change slightly, he suddenly had a bad feeling. Be careful. This warning was said subconsciously. However, by the time he said it, it was already too late. The person who spoke just now had already fallen into Li Zhongjiu's hands in the blink of an eye. Li Zhongjiu directly slapped his opponent's face twice. Then he kicked the latter in the stomach and kicked him out of the ring. Chapter 989. In front of everyone, he directly kicked this person out of the arena. Even the people from the Chongqing Pavilion did not react in time. You're courting death. The young man who led the group was furious. The other party had actually gone to such an extent, beating them up without saying a word. He was simply looking down on them, and looking down on the Chongqing Pavilion. Boom! The other 4 people burst out with ferocious flames. The moment the flames surged out, a wave of fluctuation immediately spread out. The 4 of them attacked with great rapport, releasing their own spiritual flames almost at the same time. When the flames of the 4 people intertwined, it immediately created a terrifying commotion. Ling Yan and the others saw it, but Ling Yan was not worried at all. Instead, he pushed the people from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor to the back to avoid being hit by the flying limbs. That would not be good. Everyone stay away. If the blood splashes on your body, it won't be easy to wash it off. Just as expected, even though those fellows were the future leaders of the Longevity Pavilion, and would be heavily nurtured, in the face of Li Zhongjiu, all of them combined were incapable of fighting back. Bang! Bang! 3 men and 1 woman. There was no difference. They were all sent flying by Li Zhongjiu's kick. All of them fell to the ground. As for their refining flame array, they did not even have the chance to condense it. The stage was cleared in an instant. The one who attacked was only an ordinary-looking young man. Fuck, who is this guy? He's too fierce. Isn't he that guy? I've seen him before. I saw him last time too. Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. He's Li Zhongjiu. I heard that during the 3 Dynasties Elixir Conference, the one who suppressed the geniuses from the other 2 dynasties was Li Zhongjiu. I heard that he even killed them in an instant. Fuck, he's so fucking awesome. He killed those people from the Chongqing Pavilion in an instant. I heard that they've been here for a long time. They're so arrogant and look down on others. All of them are extremely arrogant. Some young onlookers saw Li Zhongjiu's natural and unrestrained posture. Although he wasn't handsome, his skills were good enough. It was hard to believe that he could directly knock down someone. One by one, legends about Li Zhongjiu began to spread. Hee. I didn't expect that the Honorable Honorary Elder of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion would interfere in the competition between the academies, and even seriously injure a few juniors. How impressive! Gong Jiu and the others immediately felt an extremely powerful pressure condensing on the stage. The appearance of this power immediately caused their faces to change. The elders of the Longevity Pavilion must have made their move. Looking at Ling Yan, he was still full of confidence. With Li Zhongjiu's temper, no matter how many people came, they would only be beaten up. Anyway, the person was beaten up by Li Zhongjiu. It had nothing to do with her, Ling Yan. As soon as her voice fell, an aura of anger confronted the sky. Another figure appeared on the stage. This person looked old, but there was a dense aura lingering around his body. He was in a sage-like state. With a flip of his sleeves, there was an air of arrogance lingering around him. However, his face was obviously full of anger. Just now, Li Zhongjiu had directly defeated a disciple from the Longevity Pavilion without showing any mercy. Even if the elder of the Longevity Pavilion wanted to keep a low profile, it would be impossible for him to do so. If they didn't teach Li Zongjiu a lesson, then the Longevity Pavilion would have the face to continue staying here. Therefore, the elder who had been watching from the side couldn't stand it anymore. If they didn't show up to shake up the situation, the Longevity Pavilion would have no way to go in the future. However, if you showed up and saved the situation, why did you have to bring Li Zongjiu along? You even came to provoke Li Zongjiu. I, Li Zongjiu, am mighty in this city. What can you do? Li Zongjiu spread his hands. Everyone present was shocked by Li Zongjiu's calm words. They were all stunned on the spot. Their mouths were agape as they stared at Li Zongjiu in front of them. This kid is starting to get arrogant. Ling Yan retreated to the side with her people and watched as Li Zongjiu confronted the elder of the Longevity Pavilion. I am the elder of the Ying Gate of the Longevity Pavilion's Elder Hall, Lu Sunji. Elderly, since you are the honorary elder of the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion, you have taught a few juniors a lesson today. However, what did the juniors of the Longevity Pavilion do wrong? Lu Sunji said calmly. There was a sense of arrogance between his brows. If Li Zongjiu couldn't give a reason, this matter would not be settled so easily. Can't I teach them a lesson if they didn't do anything wrong? Li Zongjiu shot a glance at Lu Sunji, then glanced at the battle flag on the stage behind him. With a wave of his hand, he sent the battle flag flying. When Ling Yan saw this, he gave a signal to the disciple beside him. That disciple also threw the battle flag in his hand towards Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu naturally placed the battle flag on the stage. As for the battle flag of the Longevity Pavilion, Lu Sunji caught it. Since you are in someone else's territory, you must abide by the rules. The Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor is now recruiting. Anyone who wants to come can sign up. Li Zongjiu raised his arm and shouted. He actually advertised in such a grand occasion. Lu Sunji didn't confront him. Instead, he turned around and left angrily. Before he left, he didn't say anything harsh. After all, the Longevity Pavilion was an alchemy sect. However, they would definitely get back at him today. It was just that Lu Sunji didn't have the confidence to win against Li Zongjiu. If even he lost, it would be a true loss of face. Things had changed too quickly. The Longevity Pavilion had always looked very powerful. However, when they met a real expert, when they met Li Zongjiu, they became so terrified. It was hard to believe that this was the case. The main reason was that Li Zongjiu's appearance was too strong. If Elder Lu had wanted to make a move, Li Zongjiu wouldn't have shown any mercy. After Li Zongjiu took control of the situation, Ling Yan quickly sent people to distribute the registration form. At the same time, he also attached the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor's advertisement. Today was different from the past. In the current environment of alchemy, if one didn't work hard, it would be easy to be overshadowed by others. In that case, the future of the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor wouldn't be easy. Ling Yan was aware of this point, so in these confrontations he would never give in. Well done. I'll treat you to red braised meat later. Ling Yan nudged Li Zongjiu with his shoulder. Obviously, he wanted to give Li Zongjiu an extra drumstick. Li Zongjiu, on the other hand, looked helpless. You called me here just to deal with these three-legged cats? I'm very busy. It was rare for Li Zongjiu to make a move. It wasn't easy to invite Li Zongjiu for once, but he actually asked Li Zongjiu to deal with these small characters. Don't tell me you want a girl to fight with them. Ling Yan also spoke in an extremely righteous manner. Li Zongjiu didn't want to continue to tangle with Ling Yan. In any case, Ling Yan was also very busy now. Li Zongjiu was wandering around the recruitment square. He heard that Qi Yanran was also here. Of course, he wanted to find Qi Yanran to have some fun. These days, Qi Yanran was also busy with the recruitment of the academy. After all, the Four Seas Medicine Manor was a relatively important project for the four big families. Some of the alchemists of the four big families also came from the Four Seas Medicine Manor. Therefore, Qi Yanran was also personally involved. After all, Qi Yanran's current partner was Li Zongjiu. The strength of the Qi family must also be improved. Otherwise, sooner or later, Li Zongjiu would soar to the sky and not be limited to this small Xingyan dynasty. Qi Yanran knew Li Zongjiu's ambition. Therefore, Qi Yanran also had to speed up her own strength. And today, the Four Seas Medicine Mansion's recruitment courtyard that Qi Yanran was in welcomed an extremely shocking genius. Chapter 990. Four Seas Medicine Manor. The Four Seas Medicine Manor also used some special methods to assess the talent of those who had yet to come into contact with alchemy. Although this method wasn't necessarily accurate, it could still guarantee that the person who was assessed would have a certain level of talent in most cases. Today, a young man had appeared in the Four Seas Medicine Manor. He had reached the level of an upper-class genius in every test. The Four Seas Medicine Manor categorized these talents into grades 1 to 9, with grade 1 being the highest and grade 9 being the lowest. It mainly measured one's affinity with alchemy fire and one's perception of medicinal herbs. As long as one's results were above the average, the Four Seas Medicine Manor would accept them to prove that they had the ability to do so. Over the past few days, apart from the disciples of the four great families who came to take the test and lowered the standards slightly, there were many students who came to register. However, most of them just barely passed. In fact, some people even started to doubt whether these things that they had spent a lot of money on were effective at all. However, Qi Yanran also took the test personally. All of them had reached the highest value, except for one test that was slightly lacking. This morning, there was a young man who looked a little like a ruffian, who had casually reached the highest level of talent and passed the highest level of evaluation. All the values had reached full marks. No one dared to believe their eyes, because this person's talent was even higher than Qi Yanran's. Not only was Qi Yanran shocked, but the mentors of the Four Seas Medicine Manor were also shocked. After a series of tests, this person's talent had completely shocked the Four Seas Medicine Manor. They definitely couldn't allow someone with such outstanding talent to be recruited by other academies. Who knew he might become the second Li Zongjiu? This person's name was Wuxia. He came here from a small town at the border. His family was just an ordinary hunter, and his yuan power aura was extremely weak. It was said that he had consumed some special medicinal herbs when he was young, so his mental strength was much stronger than people of the same age. Although he said that he came from a small town, Wuxia gave off an extremely mischievous vibe. "Sisters, how are the results of my test?" Wuxia sat on a chair and looked at the busy senior sisters with a teasing gaze. "Ah, your test results are very good. Did you bring the school fees? If you pay the fees now, we'll directly enroll you. I only have this much money on me." As he spoke, Wuxia also took out 2 silver coins. In a place like the Sacred Flame Royal City, it was rare to see silver coins. Fortunately, Wuxia's innate talent was such that even if the Four Seas Medicine Manor had to fork out money, they would still have to keep him. "I don't think I have enough to pay the tuition fees. I'll go back and save up for another year," Wuxia said, feeling somewhat dejected. He then turned around to leave. The girl hurriedly called out to Wuxia, "Wait a moment. Our Four Seas Medicine Manor is interested in nurturing talents. The tuition fee is just a symbolic thing. Your 2 silver coins are enough. This is your admission card. Welcome to the Four Seas Medicine Manor." Wuxia took a red certificate from the man's hand. For any rural youth, this was an invitation to riches and honor. However, Wuxia did not seem satisfied. Why don't I go to the other smaller academies to take a look?" As he spoke, Wuxia was about to leave. The girls immediately called him over. "With your aptitude, you will be able to receive excellent treatment in our Four Seas Medicine Manor. You will be able to directly enter the excellent class. Senior Sister Qi Yanran. Did you know that Senior Sister Qi Yanran is in our excellent class?" Presumably, any youth who came to the Sacred Flame Royal City would have heard of Qi Yanran's name. She was a super beauty in the royal city, and also an alchemy genius. It was said that Qi Yanran's name was on the youth ranking recently. In a situation where there was no other way, they could only use the name of a beauty to attract this young man. "Oh!" Wuxia stopped in his tracks. A glint flashed in his eyes. It seemed that this trip was not in vain. "Qi Yanran, The Wuxia in front of him was no ordinary person. He was the person sent by the Black Canal Basilica to find Li Zhongjiu and bring back the soul-returning beast. However, once he learned of Li Zhongjiu's strength, even Wuxia did not dare to act rashly. As a matter of fact, he only came here after making a complete plan. To ensure that his identity was trustworthy, he even stayed in a place called Guanxi Town for half a month. He even obtained a household register for Guanxi Town. At the very least, the source of his identity could not be wrong. Besides, it would not be easy to deal with Li Zhongjiu. It was said that the assassins sent by the ancient Zong family had not done anything yet. In fact, they had not even sent a reply. The ancient Zong family had already assumed that the two of them had failed their mission and had sent a second group of elites. They soon arrived at the Sacred Flame Royal City. Before the assassins from the ancient Zong family took action, they had to bring back the soul-returning beast from Li Zhongjiu's hands. Otherwise, they might not be able to find the soul-returning beast. And if the soul-returning beast ended up in the ancient Zong family's hands, the price they would have to pay for it would be even greater. It would be fine if these people knew what was good for them, but if they did not and killed the soul-returning beast, then it would be terrible. You're Wuxia. Qi Yanran walked in at that moment. It was the first time Qi Yanran saw Wuxia. She and the others had been alarmed by the return of the data, which was why Qi Yanran had reported the news to her superiors, and they had quickly decided to recruit this person. However, when Qi Yanran walked over, Wuxia was about to leave. When Wuxia saw Qi Yanran, a smitten look appeared on his face. In truth, Wuxia was also incredibly impulsive. He did not expect that there would be such a beautiful person with such exquisite features. Her eyes were so beautiful that they were unparalleled in the world. If there was even the slightest hint of flirtatiousness in her eyes, it would definitely be an incredibly lethal weapon. Wuxia immediately started laughing. I am Wuxia. Once Wuxia finished speaking, he saw a figure walking over from behind Qi Yanran. Wuxia's gaze froze. At that moment, Wuxia's state of mind was affected to a certain extent. It was a reaction when danger was near. The hair under Wuxia's clothes had already stood on end. His muscles had also entered a defensive state. Just by getting close to him, he gave off such a feeling. Yanran, you're here. Chapter 991. Li Zhongjiu walked in and recognized Qi Yanran when he saw her back. Zhongjiu, why are you here? Qi Yanran turned to look at Li Zhongjiu and smiled. She was like a warm spring breeze. She was an iceberg that would never melt. Only when she met Li Zhongjiu would she smile like this. I just went to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor, so I came to see you, Li Zhongjiu said. When he walked in, he saw Wuxia. Wuxia was about the same age as Li Zhongjiu. However, Li Zhongjiu's aura gave off the feeling of a proud and aloof ruler. Even the few young ladies from the Four Seas Medicine Manor behind him were excited when they saw Li Zhongjiu. Is he Li Zhongjiu? I heard that he also won first place in an exchange competition held by the Four Seas Medicine Manor. Some time ago, Li Zhongjiu shocked everyone in the Heike dynasty. The opponent's trump card couldn't even last one move in senior brother Li's hands. So powerful. It seems like he's already together with senior sister Yanran. What a good match. A few young ladies were chattering away. As for Li Zhongjiu's achievements, it was not easy for him to go out and achieve such a proud result. As the Heavenly Elixir Pavilion, of course, they had to publicize it. They didn't want everyone to know about it, but they had to at least set off a trend in this circle. Moreover, their goal was to make it so that everyone knew about it. Only then would it feel good enough. Wait a moment. Qi Yanran said to Li Zhongjiu. This is the Four Seas Medicine Manor's special recruitment order. If you are willing, you can stay in the Four Seas Medicine Manor. The rest of the assessment can be waived. Qi Yanran handed a piece of paper to Wuxia. When they heard the word special recruitment, the surrounding people couldn't believe their ears. Specially recruited? Oh my God. This is a very precious quota. When they heard about the special recruitment, everyone was shocked. After all, the special recruitment opportunity was usually reserved for extremely talented people. Once they enjoyed the special recruitment, and entered the academy to further their studies, everything they needed would be handed over to the academy. Everything would be taken care of by the academy. Moreover, the treatment enjoyed by the students of the academy was the highest. Some privileges that ordinary students could not enjoy were enjoyed by specially recruited students. In other words, almost all the resources of the Four Seas Medicine Manor could be opened to them for free. It was that direct. The four great clans behind the Four Seas Medicinal Manor had no problem gathering this amount of money. If they were able to cultivate a top expert, then it would definitely be a very high return on investment. Really? That's great. Thank you, senior sister. I still have some things to do, so I'll go back first. Wuxia immediately took the special recruitment token from Qi Yinran's hand excitedly. Then, he quickly walked outside. He wanted to get close to Qi Yinran first, then get close to Li Zhongjie. However, he didn't expect Li Zhongjie to appear so suddenly, and the latter's strength was much stronger than expected. He really is the person who killed Meng Qing. When Wuxia arrived that day, Meng Qing was already dead. Although Wuxia used a unique secret method today to temporarily seal his cultivation, Wuxia couldn't guarantee that Li Zhongjie didn't see through his strength just now. If he did, then it would be terrible. As long as Li Zhongjie carefully investigated, he would be able to find out Wuxia's identity. Wuxia couldn't withstand any consideration. Now, he could only pray that Li Zhongjie didn't see through his hidden strength, and it wasn't easy to see through it. Another thing was that Li Zhongjie didn't investigate his identity so seriously. Otherwise, with Li Zhongjie's power, it would be too easy to catch him. Therefore, it wasn't good to stay here for long. After getting the special recruitment token, he quickly left. However, all of this couldn't escape Li Zhongjie's eyes. It was easy for Wuxia to hide his strength from others, but it was impossible for him to hide it from Li Zhongjie. With just a glance, Li Zhongjie already knew that this person's strength wasn't weak. That guy's strength isn't simple. What's his background? Li Zhongjie asked Qi Yinran. Li Zhongjie's first instinct was that there must be something wrong with this guy. Not simple. He only cultivated a little bit of Yuan Qi, and is at the level of an ordinary Yuan scholar. As for his background, he came from a hunter family in Guanxi Town. Guanxi Town? When Li Zhongjie heard this, he remembered that Guanxi Town was his mother's home. How could there be such a strong person in Guanxi Town? He was so young and so powerful. It wasn't easy to meet someone like him. Hey, elderly, what wind blew you to our place? Just as Qi Yinran was about to ask what the problem was, she heard a hearty voice. She could hear a slight gasp from the person's voice. It was obvious that he had just rushed over. Qi Yinran glanced at the person who had come. It was Zhao Jingxian from the Zhao family. This guy really came because he heard the news. He probably rushed over after hearing that Li Zhongjie had come to the admissions institute. Li Zhongjie wasn't someone that ordinary people could come into contact with. If he could invite Li Zhongjie to have a meal or drink tea with him, he would definitely be able to use him in the future. Of course, Zhao Jingxian had helped Li Zhongjie a lot in the past. At least, he made Li Zhongjie remember the person in front of him. In the past, Zhao Jingxian avoided Li Zhongjie when he saw Li Zhongjie because every time Li Zhongjie appeared, there would always be a big commotion. At that time, Zhao Jingxian estimated that Li Zhongjie wouldn't live for long. Who knew that this guy would become more and more famous, more and more arrogant? Now Li Zhongjie was ranked at the top of the list of people who couldn't be provoked in Holy Flame Royal City. This was because Li Zhongjie had used many examples to prove that he couldn't be provoked. Zhao Jingxian, you're quite diligent. Qi Yinran said faintly. Admissions wasn't a small matter, but some people chose to treat it negatively. For example, Zhao Jingxian was busy making money and managing his business. Now that Li Zhongjie was here, this guy shamelessly came over. It's you. Li Zhongjie saw Zhao Jingxian. Yinran, do you still have something to deal with? Li Zhongjie suddenly turned his head and asked Qi Yinran. Qi Yinran smiled knowingly. Yes, there are still thousands of registration forms that haven't been counted, hundreds of test results that haven't been classified, and more than 50 people have been scheduled for an interview in the afternoon. Zhao Jingxian heard. Hey, this kind of thing. Why would senior sister Qi need to come personally? Don't worry, leave it to me. I, Zhao Jingxian, promise to help you do it beautifully. Chapter 992. Zhao Jingxian directly took care of the follow-up matters. Zhao Jingxian did not expect that Li Zongjie was already together with Qi Yanran. Moreover, he did not expect that Li Zongjie would appear here. Zhao Jingxian did not expect that Li Zongjie would be here. Since the matter was handed over to Zhao Jingxian, Li Zongjie took Qi Yanran to wander around. Li Zongjie took the time to walk around, but before walking around, he still had to solve some things. There's something wrong with that kid just now. Let's go and check it out. Li Zongjie said. After Qi Yanran heard it, she nodded. Qi Yanran originally felt that something was wrong, and now that Li Zongjie mentioned it, there must be something wrong. Let's go this way. His address is in the information he submitted. Qi Yanran said. Then the two of them walked towards a relatively remote path. This area was relatively remote and poor. Moreover, the surrounding air also had a kind of turbid feeling. However, when Li Zongjie and Qi Yanran walked in, they immediately felt that the air was fresh. In front, Li Zongjie said, and then gave Qi Yanran a look. Qi Yanran immediately walked towards another path, and finally appeared at the other end of the road, blocking Wuxia's path. Senior sister Yanran, why are you looking for me? Could it be that you want to take back this special recruitment token? Wuxia stopped his footsteps. He wanted to slip away directly, but he did not expect that Li Zongjie and Qi Yanran would follow him. This caused Wuxia to become even more impatient. Why did Li Zongjie not act according to common sense? Could it be that he wanted to kill someone just because of suspicion? One was Li Zongjie, one was Qi Yanran. If the two of them joined forces, Wuxia might not have a chance to win. However, escaping wasn't a problem at all. However, if he did that, his half a month of dormancy would be completely wasted. Who are you? Qi Yanran said lightly. A pair of cold eyes stared at Wuxia. Originally, even if Wuxia had hidden something, it was not a big deal for Qi Yanran. After all, there were many people with secrets in this world. It was very normal to have one or two small secrets. However, Li Zongjie wanted to follow up and investigate, and Qi Yanran also agreed. Although Li Zongjie had killed a lot of people, no one had ever said that Li Zongjie was wrong, or that he had killed innocent people. Every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. Senior sister Yanran, I've already submitted my personal situation to the higher-ups. Don't tell me you didn't see it? Cut the crap. If you don't speak today, you'll die. Li Zongjie walked out. Step by step, he approached Wuxia. Wuxia couldn't believe that Li Zongjie was really going to make a move. Was there no law in this world? How could he kill someone just because he wanted to? What are you trying to do? Who are you? Wuxia looked at Li Zongjie with extreme vigilance. He seemed to be frightened and on guard. Li Zongjie had already taken out the black dragon hammer in his hand. Boom! Li Zongjie smashed the hammer towards Wuxia. There was no need for so much nonsense. Was there a need to talk so much? If there were any suspicions or problems, he would beat them up first. The black dragon hammer erupted with terrifying power and surged towards Wuxia. Wuxia immediately leaped in another direction when he saw the terrifying power of Li Zongjie's attack. This leap immediately erupted with power comparable to the peak of the Yuan monarch realm. If it was just ordinary strength, he wouldn't even be able to break free from the lock of the black dragon hammer. Boom! Seeing how powerful Wuxia was, Qi Yanran was also shocked. The aura just now had already surpassed her own. He obviously had such strength, yet he kept a low profile and tried to sneak into the Four Seas medicine manor. He must be up to something. Therefore, Qi Yanran was a little wary and relieved. Fortunately, Li Zongjie had appeared in time. Otherwise, who knew what kind of trouble he would cause if he entered the Four Seas medicine manor? Wuxia avoided Li Zongjie's hammer with his speed. However, Li Zongjie would definitely chase after him. It wouldn't be so easy to escape. In the blink of an eye, Wuxia already had a plan of action. He directly rushed toward Qi Yanran. Boom! Wuxia stretched out his hands, and immediately condensed a quagmire of power in front of him. Demonic Wind Claw. It seemed that a cold wind was stirred up and swept directly towards Qi Yanran. This move made Qi Yanran feel a strong pressure and crisis. But Qi Yanran also took out a weapon from her hand. She easily broke free from Wuxia's lock. Desolate Heaven Essence. Swoosh. Qi Yanran lashed out with her whip. Wuxia was confident that he could block this move, but he was puzzled. Qi Yanran was only at the Yuan monarch realm. How could she break free from his power? Pa. Wuxia was sent flying by Qi Yanran's whip. He rolled on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. How is this possible? Wuxia, who had fallen into the pit, couldn't believe what he was seeing. My boundless inner armor is broken just like that. What is that thing? It's so powerful. What's with the combination of these two? Damn. Wuxia couldn't care less about hiding his strength. In fact, Wuxia didn't have the opportunity to hide his strength from the beginning. When this power erupted, it was close to the Yuan monarch realm. A mere second-grade Yuan monarch dares to behave atrociously in front of me? Li Zhongjie looked at Wuxia and shook his head. However, after sensing it carefully, Li Zhongjie also knew where Wuxia's power came from. So you're from the Black Canal Temple. The woman I killed last time was with you, wasn't she? Li Zhongjie said faintly. Qi Yanran held the Desolate Heaven Essence in her hand and looked at Wuxia, who was lying on the ground. Black Canal Basilica. Qi Yanran heard Li Zhongjie talk about Black Canal Basilica. After all, this kind of thing had to be told to Qi Yanran, so she had to be vigilant. Back in the Heike dynasty, Qi Yanran was extremely angry, but she didn't make it public. After all, the relationship between the dynasties was still there, so it wasn't good to flare up. She didn't expect that they would still be so arrogant after returning to the Xingyan dynasty. So you are the ones who want to hurt Zhongjie. Qi Yanran's eyes suddenly became colder. Wuxia immediately felt that the situation was not good. He quickly took out a scroll from his storage ring and tore it. Suddenly, a powerful spatial force wrapped around Wuxia. Li Zhongjie, Qi Yanran. The two of you will definitely die in the hands of Black Canal Basilica. You can't escape. Before leaving, he left a ruthless sentence. However, Li Zhongjie didn't intend to let him go just like that. You want to escape from me with a mere spatial teleportation scroll? Li Zhongjie waved the black dragon hammer in his hand. Suddenly, a thunderbolt descended from the sky. It instantly struck the scroll. The scroll burned with flames and Wuxia, who was preparing to teleport, was interrupted. What? Chapter 993. Wuxia didn't dare to imagine that even the surefire teleportation scroll could be destroyed by someone. This was too cruel. What kind of monster was Li Zhongjie in front of him? Come out! Li Zhongjie stepped forward and grabbed Wuxia. The power of space was completely gone, and Wuxia was directly smashed to the ground, vomiting blood. He was seriously injured. Wuxia had never experienced such a scene before. What kind of monster was Li Zhongjie? He originally had the strength of an origin emperor. He had never imagined that he would actually fall in front of Li Zhongjie at this moment. Even though he had made ample preparations, and had even calculated this battle countless times in his heart, Wuxia still couldn't accept it. Logically speaking, with Wuxia's strength, it was impossible for him to defeat Li Zhongjie. But now, he was easily defeated by Li Zhongjie. This made Wuxia completely collapse. You won't have a good ending if you go against the Black Canal Basilica. It's not too late for you to regret now. At this moment, Wuxia couldn't do anything else. He even gave up resisting. In front of the two, he had no chance to escape at all. Moreover, the lightning just now had seriously injured him. At this moment he sat on the ground paralyzed. Falling into Li Zhongjie's hands, he didn't want to live anymore. Bang! Before Wuxia could say anything, Li Zhongjie directly smashed down with his hammer. He ended Wuxia's life. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Li Zhongjie smashed the kid to death with his hammer. A lot of blood splattered out. Qi Yanran looked at the scene in front of her, without the slightest change in expression. She just took back the specially recruited book in Wuxia's hand. She didn't expect Wuxia to be from the Heike dynasty. This made Qi Yanran a little unhappy. No matter what, the Four Seas Medicine Manor was still part of the Qi family. Therefore, she couldn't let these people mess around in the Four Seas Medicine Manor. Whoosh! Suddenly 2 figures descended. Who's there? The 2 of them surrounded Li Zongjio and Qi Yinran one after the other. The commotion just now had already alerted the special envoys patrolling the area. When the special envoy department sensed the commotion, they immediately rushed over. After all, too many people had come to the Sacred Flame Royal City recently. Hence, the special envoy department had to be fully prepared. One of them looked relatively young, and his movements were also extremely immature. He should have been recruited not long ago. After all, they needed more manpower. When he approached, he immediately pulled out the weapon in his hand. The man and woman in front of him actually dared to openly commit murder in this city. Put your hands on your head and squat down. The young envoy pointed at Li Zongjio and shouted. At the scene of the murder, both the suspect and the evidence were found. It seemed that the opportunity for him to be promoted and make a fortune had come. He had only been in office for a few days, but he already had the opportunity to solve such a big case. On the other hand, the slightly older envoy first glanced at the corpse on the ground, then looked at the traces of battle around. This was obviously a fight between very powerful experts. Moreover, why did this young man look a little familiar? Hey, aren't you? When the older envoy saw Li Zongjio, he stared at him carefully. Suddenly, he remembered something, and his eyes suddenly became frightened. Elderly. Greetings, elderly. We'll take our leave first. We won't disturb you, the envoy said directly. Then he stepped forward and pulled him away. The young envoy still wanted to say something. This was obviously a murder scene. Why didn't he do anything and just leave? This was too casual. Boss, just now, why didn't that kid catch him? When the young envoy was dragged away, he kept asking. However, in the end, the boss directly covered the latter's mouth, afraid that he didn't directly knock him out. Damn it! Do you know who that is? You still dare to shout here. You and I almost lost our lives. The old envoy directly dragged him away. Moreover, his expression was extremely serious. This matter was not so simple. That Li Zongjio was an out-and-out homicidal maniac. Don't be fooled by his gentle and quiet appearance. In fact, his hands were very bloody. If the latter was unhappy, he would directly kill your whole family. Now the Special Envoy Department directly opened a file for Li Zongjio. Anything related to Li Zongjio would be recorded in detail in the records. They didn't expect to meet Li Zongjio today, when he was unhappy. Fortunately, they left quickly. Otherwise, they would have been killed in an instant. Li Zongjio was not so easy to provoke. Seeing the 2 envoys running away in panic, Qi Yinran also carefully looked at Li Zongjio. What are you looking at? I want to see if you're that scary. Qi Yinran laughed. Although being together with Li Zongjio wasn't a spectacular experience, the things that they experienced weren't simple. Now that they killed the people in the Black Canal Basilica would definitely come looking for trouble in the future. Although they were now separated by the dynasty, no one knew what kind of power they had. But at least in the Sacred Flame Imperial City, there was no need to worry. If you say that I'm scary, then I'll eat you now, Li Zongjio said and directly carried Qi Yinran. Qi Yinran also patted him repeatedly. There was still a corpse lying next to them. Wasn't it very inappropriate to do this? Of course, Li Zongjio did not do anything. He directly flicked his finger, and a black flame burned Wuxia's corpse clean. At the same time, he took off Wuxia's storage ring. This guy had a lot of resources in his hands. Oh, this guy seems to have a lot of money. After Li Zongjio took Wuxia's storage ring, he studied it for a while, and immediately found that there were a lot of treasures in it. Even a small family's business might not have as many treasures as this storage ring. The 2 strolled around the Imperial City, had dinner, and then went back to their own business. Although the recruitment of students was handed over to Zhao Jingxian, Qi Yinran, as the person in charge, had to go back and check the results of today's work. She did not know about the results of others, but today, the Heavenly Day Medicine Manor was absolutely full. Today, Li Zongjio showed a little bit of the limelight, and directly suppressed the arrogance of the Chongqing pavilion. He was really domineering in the face of such an expert. How could the young people not be fascinated by such an expert? Some even directly regarded Li Zongjio as their idol. He was really too fierce, and they could not help but admire him. Chapter 994. Wuxia was dead. Far away in Black Canal Basilica, Wuxia's soul tablet was shattered. It immediately alarmed the entire Black Canal Basilica. Now, the four-seated geniuses that Black Canal Basilica had painstakingly cultivated. 3 of them were dead. Most importantly, the stolen soul-returning beast had not been found yet. It was certain that the soul-returning beast was in Li Zongjio's hands. Damn it! Even Wuxia was killed. It seems that Li Zongjio is determined to be the enemy of Black Canal Basilica. This group of red bishops gathered together again, because 3 of them had died in a row, and the only one left was still in seclusion. This matter had to be dealt with personally. Looks like we have to make use of some hidden forces. At the very least, Li Zongjio won't be able to continue living after killing so many people from Heichu Sacred Hall. If he's still alive after killing so many people from Heichu Sacred Hall, the name of Heichu Sacred Hall is useless. As soon as this matter was mentioned, the cardinals of Black Canal Basilica all had cold eyes. The Black Canal Basilica had controlled the Heike dynasty for so many years, and had never encountered such a serious provocation. Therefore, the Black Canal Basilica had to do something. Otherwise, there would be a second person who offended the Black Canal Basilica. When the time came, the reputation of the Black Canal Basilica would be gone, and there would be some trouble. Therefore, Li Zongjio could not be let go. Send out the life and death servants. The life and death servants. It was a secret force of Black Canal Basilica. These people were extremely strong, and had a very special ability, which was immortality. Even if they only had one arm left, they could still fight. It was said that the appearance of these life and death servants was due to the legendary power of the 1,000-legged demon worm. Even if they were beaten to death, their dead bodies could still jump with great strength. It had been a long time since the life and death servants were used. Only when the opponent was of a very high level would the life and death servants be sent out. Furthermore, whenever this unit appeared, the mission they carried out would be complete annihilation. An entire clan would be wiped out without leaving a single survivor. It was very cruel. Okay, send out the life and death servants. 10 of them. This voice seemed to be transmitted directly to the ancient underground palace. Immediately, a few rays of light lit up in the pitch-black land. As the light appeared in the eyes of these people, the surrounding air became cold. Marquis Mansion. A highly classified intelligence was quickly delivered to Wan Yonggong's desk. In fact, even Wan Yonggong, who was in the middle of his cultivation, stopped. He walked over to the desk and opened it. After reading the contents, Wan Yonggong's mind was filled with a myriad of thoughts. Countless thoughts were colliding with each other. In the end, Wan Yonggong dismissed the surrounding people and ordered someone to summon Wan Yulan. Wan Yulan came in front of Wan Yonggong. "Grandfather, what do you think about this?" Wan Yonggong handed the secret letter to Wan Yulan. Although Wan Yulan was a girl, Wan Yonggong didn't mind. Favoring males over females was an extremely backward idea. As long as one had the ability to lead the family and bring glory to the family, it was a good thing. That was a true expert. Wan Yulan's ability made Wan Yonggong extremely satisfied. At least for now, the few people in the Marquis Mansion were far inferior to Wan Yulan. This is a heaven-sent opportunity. Wan Yulan's eyes lit up when she saw the message. She was sharp enough to capture the opportunity. The Black Canal Basilica's power center is impregnable. Now that Li Zongjio has appeared, there is a trace of chaos. As long as we seize this chaos, these people will definitely reveal more flaws. Wan Yulan didn't wait for Wan Yonggong to ask and directly expressed her opinion. This made Wan Yonggong nod his head in approval. "I think so too. Go to the Sacred Flame Imperial City and inform Li Zongjio of this news. It's best if you can assist Li Zongjio and make these people stay in the Shengyan dynasty forever." Wan Yonggong said. "Yes, grandfather." Wan Yulan replied. Currently, Almost the entire Heike dynasty was in the hands of the Black Canal Basilica, causing the entire Heike dynasty to be extremely dark. All the power was in the hands of some strange people. Moreover, they couldn't differentiate between right and wrong. If this continued, the Heike dynasty would definitely fall. It was absolutely impossible to rule with absolute violence. As the vanguard of the Heike dynasty, Wan Yonggong naturally stood firmly on the side of the Heike dynasty and was bound to overthrow the group of old vampires in the Black Canal Basilica. This time, I can't send too many people to you. Otherwise, the sacred palace will definitely be suspicious. This set of purple god flying daggers was refined with my life's effort. It has never missed a target. It can kill a 5th grade primitive emperor expert within 100 meters. Keep it for self-defense. Wan Yonggong handed over the set of flying daggers to Wan Yulan. This item is too precious. I dare not accept it. Take it. With your mental strength, the effect you can display will only be stronger. You must be careful of these life and death servants. Be careful of their abilities. Wan Yonggong said. This time, Wan Yulan didn't refuse again. She nodded and accepted the set of flying daggers. She was extremely excited. This set of flying daggers had consumed half of Wan Yonggong's life's effort. It could even be considered as a family heirloom. Giving this set of flying daggers to Wan Yulan was actually a kind of entrustment. At the same time, it was also a kind of test. If Wan Yulan couldn't protect these 3 flying daggers, Wan Yonggong would definitely not put her in an important position in the future. However, if Wan Yulan could perfectly use these 3 flying daggers and achieve the effect Wan Yonggong wanted, then the person in charge of the Marquis Mansion would undoubtedly be Wan Yulan. Wan Yulan didn't stay for long. She went back to prepare and pack her things. In fact, there wasn't much to pack. In the middle of the night, she avoided the spies in the Black Canal Royal City and quickly left the city. In the Marquis Mansion, a figure quietly walked out from the darkness. That old bastard summoned that little bitch in the middle of the night. There must be something strange about it. The person who appeared was Wan Qianquan. Ever since Wan Qianquan was ignored by Li Zhongjiu and Qi Yanran that day, he was extremely unhappy. He deliberately wanted to find an opportunity to take revenge. Who knew that these people would actually go back? Just now, Wan Qianquan saw Wan Yulan being summoned in the middle of the night. There must be something going on, so Wan Qianquan went to eavesdrop. He didn't hear the details clearly. However, he knew that Wan Yulan went to look for Li Zhongjiu of the Sacred Flame Royal City. Chapter 995. Damn, she actually went to hook up with Li Zhongjiu. No, Wan Qianquan will definitely kill that Li Zhongjiu. Wan Qianquan will never forget the humiliation that day. Wan Qianquan immediately sent people to follow them under the cover of the night. It was still too early to move, so it was better to let people follow them first. At least, they had to figure out what these 2 people were doing. In one night, dark clouds were surging above the Holy Flame Royal City. Under the heavy rain, 3 figures appeared in front of an inn in the Holy Flame Royal City. Sirs, please come in. For rooms. The leader threw out a bag of purple yuan. He even asked for 4 rooms. When the waiter received the big bag of purple yuan, he was stunned for a moment. There were clearly only 3 people in front of him. So why did they ask for 4 rooms? Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed. On the ground of the inn, a 4th figure flashed. The waiter was so frightened that his face turned pale. When he took a closer look, he realized that one of them was carrying a person on his back. Oh my God, you scared me. The person on the other person's back seemed to have broken legs and was unable to move, so he was carried. Rich people were the masters. The waiter immediately booked 4 rooms for the 4 of them. In one of the rooms, the 4 of them gathered. At this moment, they took off their black clothes. On the table, there were several cups of hot tea. When they were out on missions, they were not allowed to drink alcohol. This was a rule. If they did not adhere to this rule, then there might be trouble when they were out on missions. Tomorrow go and find out where that Li Zhongjiu is. Also, the Shengyan dynasty is not like the Heike dynasty. There are many experts here, and they all have their own camps, so you have to be extra careful. Yes, Elder Jean, The 4 experts that were sent out were all titled assassins who enjoyed the 4 major titles: gold, silver, bronze, and iron. 4 top-notch assassins. Compared to Zhang Yeshang and Zhang Feng, who had just come out, they were many times more experienced. Moreover, their strength was more than 1 level higher. The leader of the 4 was Elder Zhang Jin. He did not expect that they would send out 4 top-class assassins in one go. Clearly, the ancient Zhang clan valued Li Zhongjie greatly. At the same time, they also placed great importance on the mission before them. At this moment, don't move around casually during normal times. It seems like the Holy Flame Royal City is currently undergoing recruitment for the various academies. There are many people here. We need to gather sufficient information within 2 days. Yes, the ancient Zhang clan lived up to its reputation as a clan of assassins on the continent. Without any backup forces, it was the first time they had crossed a dynasty to carry out such an assassination mission. During the assassination, the target had fled all the way from the Haike dynasty to the Tianyan dynasty. But it was different this time. They were directly coming to their dynasty, their territory, to assassinate. They didn't know how strong they were, so they had to do their homework. In the next 2 days, 3 of them began to gather information quietly. With their skills, they could naturally come and go as they pleased. There was no danger in the city, so they soon found out where Li Zhongjie was. White Deer Manor. This is the White Deer Manor. Li Zhongjie is inside. Zhang Yin and Zhang Tong hid in the dark and stared at the White Deer Manor in front of them. However, they did not enter, nor did they try to find out where the other party was. Although they had yet to rush in, they could feel the dangerous aura in the White Deer Manor. For primitive emperor-level soul beasts and Nangong Wuji, although Hong Shirsan's strength was average, he was still in primitive emperor. More or less, the existence of these 6 powerhouses was already a thorny problem for these people. Every primitive emperor powerhouse had incomparably sharp senses. What are you trying to do in front of my manor? Just as the 2 of them were staring at the White Deer Manor in front of them, a voice suddenly came from behind them. With their cultivation, they were able to approach them quietly without being discovered. This immediately shocked the 2 of them. When they turned around, they saw a young man standing not far away. Without a doubt, the person in front of them immediately overlapped with a figure in their mind. Li Zhongjie, the target of the mission, was right in front of them. Once they killed him, the mission would be completed. However, the 2 of them were very clear that if they wanted to fight with Li Zhongjie, the chances of winning were 0. Therefore, they didn't act rashly but calmed down. Without needing to look at each other, the 2 of them began to release their aura after confirming each other's identity. In an instant, the 2 of them directly crashed through the wall beside them and immediately pulled out, quickly escaping into the distance. The 2 top experts escaped in 2 different directions. Anyone would be stunned at the scene. Even if it was just a second, the 2 of them would be able to escape very far away. At this moment, it didn't matter whether one's fighting ability was strong or not, but one's footwork must be trained well. Still want to run? Li Zhongjie snapped his fingers. Immediately from the White Deer Manor, 2 figures flew out directly, quickly approaching one of the figures. Li Zhongjie also turned around and chased after one of them. His footwork was activated. Immediately, he appeared in between movements, his speed incomparably fast. What, he actually caught up? Zhang Yin's skills were at least 80 years of cultivation. Among the 4 of them, Zhang Yin's speed was the fastest, his footwork was the most exquisite, and he was the most agile. When Li Zhongjie caught up, Zhang Yin wanted to take the opportunity to attack and force Li Zhongjie to retreat. However, he saw that Li Zhongjie had a hammer in his hand. A bolt of lightning suddenly bloomed from the hammer, and with a boom, Zhang Yin immediately felt his body stiffen on the spot. Then his vision turned black, and he fell straight down. He lost consciousness. Old thing, you run pretty fast. Li Zhongjie weighed the black dragon hammer in his hand. In just a few breaths, he had already run out of the city. Wasn't this speed fast? If he walked back, he would have to waste a lot of effort. Immediately, Li Zhongjie searched the old man's body. Similarly, he took out a dagger. On it were the words Ancient Zhang Family. Damn! Can't these top assassins of the continent hide their identities? Why are they all dressed the same way? Li Zhongjiu could not help but say. In the sky above the other side of King City, 2 bird calls came. Clearly the other one had also been caught. Chapter 996. Zhang Tong had already escaped, but just as he was about to leave the perimeter of the path, 2 strong gusts of wind suddenly swept over him. All of a sudden, he felt 2 gusts of wind rushing towards him. Following the eruption of the cold wind, he was immediately blocked by 2 figures. To be exact, those 2 silhouettes had directly captured those 2 silhouettes. Boom! The black wind and blood shadow condor appeared and directly pinned Zhang Tong to the ground. Then with a lift of the claw, it lifted the man and brought him 10,000 meters up into the sky. Fuck, I'm afraid of heights! Zhang Tong immediately screamed and fainted in midair. Then he was directly brought down into the Bailu Manor. Li Zhongjiu also caught him. Soon, Li Zhongjiu also ordered people to bring the unconscious Zhang Tong to the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Tower. That was why Palace Lord Yun Qi used the secret technique of Zixuan Court to painstakingly control these 2 people's minds. These 2 people's willpower was extremely firm, so it wasn't easy to control them. It was also because of this that Palace Lord Yun Qi spent a lot of energy. Fortunately, the divine skill of sun and moon given by Li Zhongjiu was authentic. This allowed Palace Lord Yun Qi to replenish the energy she had consumed these days. Palace Lord, Li Zhongjiu is here again. Yun Qi had just finished cultivating today, and had been studying the divine skill of sun and moon these days. Again, Yun Qi had a love-hate relationship with Li Zhongjiu. After all, Li Zhongjiu's strength was obvious. He was obviously an extremely dangerous person. He was too strong. Cooperating with such a person could not be called cooperation at all. In fact, your life and death depended on the mood of others. If Li Zhongjiu was unhappy, he could directly cripple you, or even kill you directly. You would have nothing to say, and you wouldn't even have the strength to object. Yun Qi came to Li Zhongjiu and saw 2 figures lying on the ground. Moreover, the attire and aura of these people were exactly the same as the people locked up in this secret prison. They're also in cahoots with the assassins. Help me control them. I'll leave these people to you, Li Zhongjiu said. After he finished speaking, he turned around and prepared to leave. Before he left, he turned around to take a look. In the next few days, keep a close eye on any movement from the Haika dynasty, especially the people from Black Canal Basilica. Black Canal Basilica? Even though Zixuan Court had been doing intelligence gathering work before, they knew very little about Black Canal Basilica. After all, Black Canal Basilica had a transcendent status in the Haika dynasty. Although he didn't know much about the Black Canal Sacred Hall, the other party was a terrifying existence after all. Even the slightest bit of information he knew was enough to make him feel the terror of the Black Canal Sacred Hall. You want to deal with Black Canal Basilica? Yun Qi asked. Yun Qi immediately looked at Li Zhongjiu in front of him in surprise. He didn't expect Li Zhongjiu to be so ambitious. This was almost equivalent to becoming an enemy of the Shengyan dynasty's royal family. Be careful. If these people want to form a grudge with me, I will have no choice but to destroy them. Li Zhongjiu directly left after he finished speaking. Yun Qi's eyes flashed with horror when he heard this. Li Zhongjiu had been to the Haika dynasty, so he naturally knew the strength of Black Canal Basilica. He knew that there were tigers in the mountains, but he still chose to go there. This was an incredible amount of courage. This guy is really fearless. However, Li Zhongjiu's words just now reminded Yun Qi of something. The 4 people sent here were all top assassins of the Haika dynasty. If this powerful force was in his hands, it would definitely bring great benefits to Zixuan Court. If he had this sharp knife in his hands, it would definitely bring great benefits and convenience in the future. It's not like they're useless, Yun Qi said. Then, he ordered people to carry the 2 people away. Now it seemed that the 2 people's strength seemed to be stronger than the previous ones. It seemed that Li Zhongjiu had also caused a lot of trouble. After returning, Xiao Zhao had also investigated the origins of these people, and found out that there were 2 accomplices. Immediately, he sent people to surround the inn. Many people also appeared in secret to keep an eye on the inn. This time, Taifai was leading the team again. Many experts around him were already ready to take action. When they rushed up last time, because of their bravery and good performance, many people were rewarded. Now these people all wanted to make a contribution. However, the strength of the people above was beyond their imagination. "Are you looking for us?" A voice suddenly came from behind Taifai. When he looked back, he immediately saw an old face staring at him. Taifai immediately widened his eyes. The yuan qi in his body involuntarily circulated. However, he heard a muffled sound coming from his body. Bang! Taifai's body flew out directly and fell to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. "Boss!" When the others saw that Taifai was actually sent flying, they immediately rushed in the direction of the person who attacked. However, in the darkness, muffled sounds could be heard. Everyone who approached was sent flying. However, these people fell to the ground. They didn't lose their lives, but they were all seriously injured. Most of the people who came to surround the inn were defeated on the ground. They didn't even see the other party's shadow before they disappeared. If the other party wanted to kill them, none of them would be able to survive. The gap between the two parties couldn't be closed so easily. Something must have happened to second brother and third brother. Zhang Jin and Zhang Jin disappeared. When Li Zhongjiu arrived, he saw a group of people lying on the ground. All of them were seriously injured. The person who attacked was quite accurate. All of them were defeated in one move. "Young master." Taifei got up with great difficulty. This time, the 30-odd people he had brought along had all been defeated. He ran fast. Li Zhongjiu glanced around, and then looked at the entire city. His eyes gradually turned to an extremely distant place. "You want to behave atrociously in my territory?" Li Zhongjiu's mouth curved into a cold smile. It was time to make a move. The easiest way to establish his prestige in the entire continent was to find some of the more outstanding ones and beat them up one by one. This way, his reputation would naturally spread. "Pay attention to their movements and find out where they're hiding," Li Zhongjiu said. "Yes, young master," Taifai replied. Chapter 997. The leader who escaped was Zhang Jin, and the other person was Zhang Tong. Zhang Tong's legs were used to assassinate a primitive emperor, and the other party's identity was not simple. He was the leader of an extremely ancient force. In the end, Zhang Tong retreated under the encirclement of more than 10 top experts. However, his legs were ambushed by the other party, so he did not manage to protect them. Since then, his strength had become quite strong. It was extremely shocking, because he completed the mission with outstanding results. Not only did he establish a great reputation, but he also had an extremely high status in the ancient Zhang family. Now his skills were exceptionally well hidden. No one knew how many years it had been since he had made a move. No one knew what level his strength had reached. At that moment, the two old men quickly hid in a hidden place in the dark night. This Li Zhongjiu is so resourceful, to be able to find us so quickly. Zhang Jin's eyes were filled with an unprecedented graveness. They had come to Li Zhongjiu's territory, but they were found so quickly. 2 days later, a woman in black appeared in the sacred Flame Royal City. When this black-clothed lady walked into Holy Flame Royal City, she immediately felt many mental energy sweeping over her body. However, the woman in black hid her aura very well. However, her identity as a member of the Heike dynasty immediately made the people around her vigilant. Although it did not seem like much on the surface, there were countless intelligence personnel working quickly in the dark to spread the news. A mysterious woman from the Heike dynasty is here. Li Zhongjiu also received the news very quickly. The person who came was none other than Wan Yulan. When Wan Yulan sat in a noodle house and waited for her chicken soup shredded pork noodles to be served, she sensed a figure approaching. Moreover, there were more faces around the noodle house. They came so quickly. Even Wan Yulan was shocked. She turned around and saw Li Zhongjiu walking in. Li Zhongjiu did not expect that the person who came was Wan Yulan. When he saw Wan Yulan, Li Zhongjiu was also puzzled. He waved his hand and signaled the others not to relax, but not to get too close either. He sat opposite Wan Yulan. What a coincidence. Li Zongjio said. I came specifically to look for you. I just entered the city, and you appeared. It seems that your influence in the sacred flame royal city is not small. Wan Yulan said indifferently. With her mental power, it was easy for her to discover these people. It was normal for her to want to shake them off. However, Wan Yulan did not do so. This way, he could find Li Zongjio faster. What are you doing here? Li Zongjio looked at Wan Yulan and asked. Li Zongjio had provoked quite a number of people from the Heike dynasty, so if there was a need, even if Wan Yulan was an old acquaintance, as long as she came to deal with Li Zongjio, he would not leave a single one alive. In truth, Li Zongjio had already discovered the whereabouts of the other two powerful fighters from the ancient Zong family in the city. However, there was no need for him to make a move yet. It was a good time for the people from Zishuan court to test the strength of the puppets he had just controlled. The puppets were ready. It had been a long time since he tested this method, so he naturally wanted to see if it had any corresponding effects. That was why Li Zongjio kept those people alive. They were really unlucky. They did not have a chance to assassinate Li Zongjio. Instead, they were forced to flee in all directions because they wanted to hide their tracks. You killed the people from Black Canal Basilica, so Black Canal Basilica has sent their life and death servants to deal with you. Wan Yulan stared into Li Zongjio's eyes as she spoke. Sir, your noodles are ready. The waiter served 2 bowls of noodles. When Wan Yulan ordered, she also ordered one for Li Zongjio. Clearly, Wan Yulan had already guessed that the person who came would be Li Zongjio. Li Zongjio picked up his chopsticks and picked at the noodles. Thank you for coming all the way here to deliver the letter, but since Black Canal Basilica did this, it means that they are determined to die. Li Zongjio tapped the bowl with his chopsticks. This bowl of noodles is on me. After eating this bowl of noodles, we will go back immediately. Wan Yulan looked at Li Zongjio in front of her. The latter was obviously saying that he did not need anyone's help. It was indeed cool to say that, but it was not easy to escape the pursuit of these life and death servants. You don't understand. This matter is very serious. Although I don't know what you have done, Black Canal Basilica has sent their life and death servants to deal with you. Wan Yulan said with a frown. From her point of view, Li Zongjio did not know the specific situation yet, which was why he had such thoughts. He even said that if he wanted to fight with these people, if he was not careful, he might be killed by them. This matter was extremely tricky. Anyone who was targeted by these life and death servants would not have a good ending. Life and death servants? Is it that group of people who absorb the power of the ancient demons and are known to be unkillable? Li Zongjio said calmly after hearing this. Since Li Zongjio had heard of the reputation of these life and death servants, if he had, then Li Zongjio would definitely be vigilant and know how powerful these people were. However, after listening to Li Zongjio's evaluation, Wan Yulan felt that these life and death servants were just a group of strange guys who had taken drugs. The power of the ancient demons was a kind of poison to the human race. Anyone who came into contact with it would become an extremely lethal force. Yes, it's them, but their strength is more terrifying than I imagined. Moreover, they are used to doing things by hook or by crook. Even Wan Yulan attached great importance to this matter, so he was naturally very vigilant about this matter. He could not relax because of this. Although this operation was an interdynasty operation, he believed that these people would be unscrupulous. I know. If they come, none of them can leave. Since you are not willing to leave, then do as you wish. If you have any problems, you can come to White Deer Manor to find me. If you are not an enemy, then you are a guest. I will not forget the favor I owe to your Marquis Wanyong's residence. Li Zongjio quickly finished the noodles in his bowl, slapped a purple yuan coin on the table, and turned to leave. After Li Zongjio left, the people who were watching them also withdrew one by one. They had obviously received Li Zongjio's order, and did not leave a single person behind. They believed that Wan Yulan was not looking for trouble. If Wan Yulan really did something, Li Zongjio would not let Wan Yulan have an easy time. Obviously, in the face of the Heike dynasty, for Li Zongjio, This was a rather stressful matter. Otherwise, he would not be personally involved in everything. The slightest carelessness could lead to the extermination of his family. In the end, Li Zhongjiu pondered for a while and summoned Tianfei. You and the Sky-Blaze Lion make a trip. Go to Wuxia City. You must ensure the safety of Wuxia City. Li Zhongjiu instructed. Bring the Sky-Blaze Python along. Yes, young master. Tianfei half knelt and said. At this moment, there was no suitable person beside him. He first deployed the two primitive Emperor Meta beasts back. As for the other situation, Li Zhongjiu was observing. Anyway, in Monarch City, Li Zhongjiu was personally overseeing it. Naturally, there would be no problem. Chapter 998. Li Zhongjiu's White Deer Manor had gradually gained some fame in the Sacred Flame Royal City recently. Therefore, Li Baichao received a lot of good treatment in the Tianshan Medicine Manor. Even in his wildest dreams, Li Baichao had never imagined that Li Zhongjiu would actually be able to get him to cultivate in the Tianshan Medicine Manor. Before this, the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was the #1 school in the eyes of the Xingyan dynasty's alchemists. Of course, it was still the same now. However, there were many competitors, and it was not completely ahead of them. However, the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was still worthy of being the #1 school. Li Baicao's learning during this period of enrollment had directly improved by leaps and bounds. In the White Deer Manor, the foundation was suppressed by these people. In addition, he had a certain level of talent. However, this little breakthrough was a group of extremely abnormal geniuses compared to the people around him. They came from all over the dynasty, although the selection this year was not the same as the previous year, where one could only come to the royal city after advancing layer by layer, but directly register on the spot, and then go through a series of tests. However, in reality it was the same. Those who failed in the end would be directly eliminated without any accidents. Those who remained were the local elites. Nan Peixian was also specially recruited to enter the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. After all, Nan Peixian was not too old. After being recruited, Nan Peixian would be a member of the research team and help the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor to research some new prescriptions. It was considered as a contribution to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Recently, Nan Peixian's relationship with Li Baichao was quite good. Obviously, Nan Peixian knew how powerful Li Zhongjiu was and wanted to curry favor with Li Zhongjiu. Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. In Ling Yan's office, an invitation letter was sent to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor's A class. It was an invitation letter from the Longevity Pavilion. The content of the letter was to invite the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor to jointly organize a new student competition. This person had just joined the academy and hadn't even had the time to learn. Yet he had directly launched such a competition. It was clear that he was deliberately provoking them. Last time, Li Zhongjiu had humiliated the Longevity Pavilion in front of so many people. However, that wasn't a very public situation. Now that the freshman competition had started, it would be a real occasion. When it came to a competition, the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor was naturally not afraid of them. What was there to be embarrassed about? Since there was going to be such a new student competition, they might as well make it a little more ruthless. After receiving the invitation letter, Ling Yan's eyes burned with a raging flame. Originally, Ling Yan was a relatively radical person, but ever since he went out with Li Zhongjiu, his meridians were repaired, and he had already died once. This made him even more ferocious. Since he wanted to do it, he would do it big. Hence, they joined forces with the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. A grand competition for the new students of the Pill Palace in the Sacred Flame Royal City officially began. The launch would take place 1 month later. All the academies could participate. As long as they were in the top 100, they would be rewarded. This was the condition for participating, which was to be a first-year student of the various academies. Hence, a second-year student like Li Zhongjiu couldn't participate. Of course, it was impossible for Li Zhongjiu to participate in such a thing. However, Ling Yan still found Li Zhongjiu. Why are you here again? Li Zhongjiu saw that Ling Yan had come uninvited and was very familiar with the place. He immediately found Li Zongjio, who was refining pills. Isn't this a great thing? The first person I thought of was you. Ling Yan looked at Li Zongjio and said. Li Zongjio could only look at Ling Yan with a suspicious gaze, as if saying, "What great thing can happen to you? It's fine as long as you don't do something that will cause the sky to collapse. Look at your little eyes. Do you think your sister will harm you? It's like this. Isn't it because those people from the Pavilion of Eternal Life are trying to stir up trouble? Our Heavenday Medicine Manor has set up a training class, and in a month's time, we'll be holding a competition for new students. I'm giving you face by including your Li family members. It's just that you'll have to go and give them a lesson in our class. That's all." Ling Yan gave Li Zongjio a you-know-what-I-mean look. When he thought of this guy in front of him, who was just a student of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor before, he was extremely shocked that he had such an ability now. The change was too great. "I still have something to do, so I'll leave first." Who knew that Li Zongjio would directly stand up and walk out of the door? From the looks of it, it seemed that he wanted to escape. This was Li Zongjio's Bailu manner. It actually forced Li Zongjio to such a state. Even Li Zongjio wouldn't have such a big temper. "Wait a moment. I'm now a member of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor's Elders Guild. I'll give your Li family 2 quotas next year." Ling Yan stopped Li Zongjio. "The Elders Guild? Let's not talk about what this Elders Guild does. Anyway, Ling Yan and I will definitely be able to get some benefits." That's why he came to Li Zongjio. 3. Li Zongjio turned around and said, "Deal." Ling Yan suddenly revealed a treacherous smile and high-fived Li Zongjio. Obviously, this quota was already set in Ling Yan's heart. No matter how many quotas Li Zongjio said, he would agree. Thinking back, this Ling Yan also liked to use these tricks to set a trap for Li Zongjio. At that time, he tricked Li Zongjio and Kuan Erishur to participate in some trial, and went to White Blaze Mountain. He had also used some sort of quota to trick Li Zongjio. However, Li Zongjio didn't care about these. As long as it was beneficial to the development of the Li family, Li Zongjio was willing to accept it. Moreover, although Li Zongjio was a top alchemist, if he specially taught 1 or 2 people, it was possible to use his own method to forcibly create a genius. However, if he wanted to nurture the Li family's disciples, he would send all of them to the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor to receive the systematic learning and training. After they came out, they would have a higher plasticity. This was why no matter if you were a genius or not, you still had to go to the academy to study. In the early stages, your talent might allow you to be ahead of ordinary people. However, after that, it was very likely that the gap between you and others would quickly be pulled apart. Learning was also particular about the method. Furthermore, in this academy, other than being able to learn knowledge, it also taught you how to understand and learn on your own. "Young master, something happened." Li Zongjio and Ling Yan had just finished talking when they saw Xiao Zhao walk in with a dignified face. Even Xiao Zhao said that something happened. "It must be an extremely serious matter. I won't send you off. I have something to deal with here," Li Zongjio said to Ling Yan. Ling Yan could see Li Zongjio's serious expression, and knew that this matter might not be so simple. "Okay, but Li Zongjio, remember, if there's anything you need, don't be shy. Sister will protect you." Ling Yan patted her chest and said, "Okay." Chapter 999. After Ling Yan left, Xiao Zhao also quickly came in front of Li Zongjio. "Young master, early this morning, one of our casinos was massacred. 27 people died in the casino." Xiao Zhao's face was dignified. 27 people died. They even directly stepped on Li Zongjio's territory and killed all the people in the casino. "Let's go." Li Zongjio's eyes were suddenly filled with a murderous aura, but it didn't burst out directly, because Li Zongjio knew that this day would come sooner or later. When Li Zongjio went out, he found that Qi Yinran also came to Li Zongjio. Something happened. Seeing Li Zongjio's expression, Qi Yinran already felt something. Qi Yinran didn't say anything and directly followed Li Zongjio. The 3 of them didn't make a big fuss, and directly came to the place where the incident happened. The incident happened in a small casino under Boyu Casino. The business of this casino was not bad, but it was just a small amount of money. However, since there was such a beginning, it must continue to become serious. Obviously, this was a warning. Tai Feihe and the others had arrived a long time ago and sealed off the news of this place. All the corpses were neatly placed on the ground and covered with white cloth. When Li Zongjio and the other two arrived, Tai Fei also quickly came forward to greet them and told them the situation here. 28 people died. Just now, a child's body was found under the bed. There were no wounds on the deceased's body, and there were no signs of fighting around. It seemed that they were all shocked to death in an instant. Tai Fei said in a deep voice. Even if he had been in this business for so many years, he had never seen such a scene. Everyone fell directly, and even the cards on the table were not touched. Therefore, Tai Fei was so shocked. There were less than 10 gambling tables in this casino. Li Zongjio checked the condition of these dead people. Although the appearance is intact, the soul was shattered in an instant. Li Zongjio said, the strength of these people was only ordinary. To be able to do this, the primitive emperor realm was enough. They actually played tricks on Li Zongjio. Immediately, Li Zongjio's eyes became cold. There was no doubt that these people were the life and death servants mentioned by Wan Yulan. Li Zongjio's previous life had seen the means of these life and death servants. But the arrogance in other places had nothing to do with Li Zongjio. Since they came today, he would definitely treat them well. Who was it that did this? When Qi Yanran saw the body of the last child, she was even more furious. She had lost her humanity. The assassins of Black Canal Basilica are called life and death servants. Li Zongjio replied. Black Canal Basilica again. Do they think that there is no one in the Xingyan dynasty? Even Qi Yanran, who was always calm and collected, was completely enraged. Obviously, these people were in big trouble. Settle the families of these people. If you find anything suspicious, come and tell me directly. Don't act on your own. Yes, young master. Tai Feihe replied. Previously, they had wanted to hunt down the two top-notch assassins, but in the end, they had been taken down by the assassins. This made Tai Feihe and the others feel extremely ashamed. Not only had they failed to complete their mission perfectly, but they had also messed it up. The main thing was that the current opponents were more powerful than the previous one. There was no way to deal with them at all. They could only fight hard. The level of the enemies that Li Zongjio was facing now was not something that Tai Fei and others could resist at all. Li Zongjio naturally noticed this. If it was ordinary things, it was possible to let these people handle it. However, when it came to the real top forces, they still needed stronger people. It seems that I have to get a group of masters. Li Zongjio had countless elixir recipes. It was easy for him to create some strong people. However, before that, he had to make sure that these people could really be used. Yanran, these days, your chief family should pay attention to them. I will find them as soon as possible, Li Zongjio said. Of course, Qi Yanran knew what Li Zongjio meant. After all, the relationship between the two of them was not ordinary. Since the enemy was so ruthless, it was hard to say what they would do that might be unfavorable to the Qi family. Don't worry. Our Qi family is not that simple. Qi Yanran gave Li Zongjio a reassuring look. Not only would Li Zongjio work hard to find the whereabouts of these people, Qi Yanran would also not let them go. Li Zongjio was not that worried about Qi Yanran's safety. After all, Qi Yanran's strength was in addition to the protection of the desolate heaven essence. It should not be a big problem. After letting Qi Yanran go back first, Li Zongjio was also thinking that he should find an opportunity to help Qi Yanran subdue a meta beast. This way, they could more or less take care of each other to ensure that nothing would go wrong. However, if he wanted to find a meta beast, of course, he would have to find a meta beast of the sovereign realm. Currently, these meta beasts of the sovereign realm would not be of much use. In his previous life, Li Zongjio had subdued a few meta beasts of the sovereign realm. However, in Li Zongjio's opinion, these meta beasts were still too weak. Therefore, he dismissed them and allowed them to go wherever they wanted. However, there were still a few meta beasts that were unwilling to leave. They stood guard in front of Li Zongjio's mountain gate. After all, Following Li Zongjio would give them elixir pills to eat. If he was in a good mood, and the gate was well guarded, he would directly reward them with elixir pills that were equivalent to hundreds of years of cultivation. Who wouldn't want such a good thing? In the outskirts of the city, beside a shallow mountain forest, 5 figures gathered. One of them held a drawing in his hand. On it was a portrait of a person. It was the portrait of Qi Yinran. Tonight, the 2 of you, bring this woman's head and hang it at the entrance of Bailu Manor. The leader's tone was extremely calm, as if he was talking about having dinner together at night. Hearing these words made one's hair stand on end. However, the other 4 people nodded their heads as if nothing had happened. Just as the 5 of them were waiting, another 5 figures quickly leaped out from the water current. There was not a single drop of water on their bodies as they landed on the ground. How is the completion of the mission? The leader of the life and death servants asked. His gaze was indifferent and empty, as if 2 deep abysses could make one sink into it. It has been investigated clearly. Li Zongjio has already received the signal. There are 2 level 3 origin emperor beasts, Black Wind Blood Shadow Condors, in his residence. A level 7 origin emperor expert, and a level 2 origin emperor expert. Other than that, there are no other experts. Very good. The bishop's mission is to intimidate the sacred flame royal city. Li Zongjio is arrogant and rampant. Then we will be even more rampant than him. Chapter 1000. Black Canal Basilica wouldn't summon the life and death servant unless it was absolutely necessary. One had to know that these life and death servants had always been lawless and arrogant. Once they were released, there was no telling what they would do. It was hard to predict what they would do. It could be said that there would be endless troubles in the future. However, there was generally no problem in completing the mission. It didn't matter how much of a stir they could cause in the end. Anyway, there was Black Canal Basilica behind them. No matter what kind of trouble they caused, it wouldn't be a problem. Wan Yulan had also stealthily arrived at the casino that had been exterminated in the morning. After taking a look around, she knew that this was the work of the life-death servants. They killed people without leaving a trace. Very few people had the opportunity to exchange blows with these life-death servants. They were integrated with the talent of the demon race, and could come and go freely in the darkness. This is... Wan Yulan saw a little bit of yellow soil on the floor and pinched it. Immediately, Wan Yulan's eyes flashed. This was the aura of the soil left behind by the life and death servants. It wasn't too difficult to find the source. The aura of the soil formed in each area was different. Everything in the world had spirituality. Therefore, when Wan Yulan found an aura that didn't fit in here, she found the soil. At the same time, Wan Yulan also released her mental strength. After all, she was a mental strength master at the primitive emperor level. When the mental power was displayed, it was as if a mighty wind was constantly passing through this space, brushing past everyone's body. Found it. Wan Yulan's mental strength sensed that among the extremely mixed aura in the surrounding area, she found an extremely weak one. But at least it matched the conditions of the soil in her hand. It's in the suburbs. Wan Yulan immediately locked on to the location. Although Wan Yulan found the location, it was definitely impossible for Wan Yulan to face these people alone. Any one of them would be enough to trouble Wan Yulan, just as Wan Yulan was about to retract her spiritual power. However, he suddenly felt a wave of mental strength coming to find him. What? Wan Yulan could feel the strength of this mental energy. It was even stronger than her own. The 2 mental energies shuttled back and forth in the void. Clearly, Wan Yulan's mental energy control was not as strong as her opponent's. Boom! A wisp of power actually followed some clues, and directly found Wan Yulan's body. This caused Wan Yulan to be incomparably shocked. This person's method was so covert, and many times better than hers. This person must be an old monster, who had cultivated spiritual power for hundreds of years, or even thousands of years. Oh no! Just as Wan Yulan was about to escape from this place. With a boom, a powerful aura directly suppressed everything within 100 meters of Wan Yulan. A figure landed. It was none other than Li Zongjio. It's you. Li Zongjio saw Wan Yulan here. Previously, Li Zongjio had felt a wave of mental energy spying on him. This wave of mental energy was very well hidden. Even some primitive emperor experts who were not proficient in mental energy would find it difficult to sense the existence of this wave of mental energy. However, no matter how subtle the movement was, there was no way to escape Li Zongjio's detection. He directly caught the owner of this mental energy, which was Wan Yulan. Your mental energy? How is this possible? Wan Yulan looked at Li Zongjio in extreme shock. She could not believe that Li Zongjio's mental energy could reach such a terrifying level. Moreover, Li Zongjio's mental energy cultivation was obviously above hers. Li Zongjio was incomparably outstanding, whether it was his talent in alchemy or his innate talent in origin energy. When these two aspects were raised to the same level, and both broke through, it could already be considered the pinnacle of one's life. Now, Wan Yulan unexpectedly discovered that Li Zongjio's mental energy was actually stronger than hers. She majored in mental energy. What kind of freak was Li Zongjio? A triple cultivation genius? It was simply terrifying. The latter could not help but shudder. The Heichu Sacred Hall is causing chaos in the Heichu dynasty, causing the people of the Heichu dynasty to have no way of making a living. The purpose of the Marquis Wanyong's residence is to eradicate the Heichu Sacred Hall. If we can kill these death servants, we can definitely expose the Heichu Sacred Hall. Wan Yulan revealed the true purpose of her trip. It turned out that she wanted to borrow Li Zongjio's strength to eradicate these life and death servants and force the Black Canal Basilica to make a bigger move. The more you do, the more mistakes you make. All along, the Black Canal Basilica had been as stable as Mount Tai. No one dared to make a move within the Heike dynasty. There was no series of fuses that could be ignited. At this moment, Wan Yulan had come to expose this flaw. Li Zongjio glanced at Wan Yulan. It was not so easy to take advantage of this situation. Moreover, Li Zongjio hated it when others took advantage of him. I have found their location. The Marquis of Wanyong will not take advantage of you. Once the Black Canal Basilica is dealt with, your Li family will be my Marquis of Wanyong's forever friend. Wan Yulan said faintly, the Black Canal Basilica will definitely die. If you want to stay in the city, you have to show the corresponding ability. Li Zongjio glanced at Wan Yulan and said, I have found their location. Wan Yulan smiled confidently and pinched a piece of soil in her hand. When Li Zongjio saw the soil, he already knew what method Wan Yulan used. She was indeed a spiritual master, to be so sensitive in this aspect. Let's go. The two of them rushed towards the outskirts. Boom! Two figures flashed across the sky. Many people on the ground raised their heads to look at the things that flew out and were shocked. There were actually people who dared to fly around so brazenly in the Sacred Flame Imperial City. They were simply rebelling. In the outskirts. Just now, when Wan Yulan's mental energy had appeared, the life and death servants had also sensed it. Immediately the guard captain sneered. If I'm not wrong, this spying power should be that girl from the Marquis of Wanyong's Marquis Mansion. I didn't expect the Marquis of Wanyong's mansion to be involved. Then, the guard captain waved his hand. The five of you, go and prepare for tonight's operation. You must bring me the other party's head. Yes. Immediately, the five of them left the place. The two of you, go into the city and find that stinky girl. Yes. Another two of them went into the city. The remaining two were in charge of guarding the place, because the guard captain needed to cultivate. At this moment, he had also caught a few young and beautiful women in the cave. They were good materials for cultivation. The two of you guard the entrance. I'm going to cultivate. Yes, guard captain. Chapter 1001. Two life and death servants were guarding the entrance of the cave. At this moment, there were some extremely painful and hysterical screams coming from the cave. The two life and death servants didn't have the slightest change in their expressions. It was as if they had experienced this scene countless times. Suddenly, there were some weak vibrations in the air. At this moment of surprise, these weak vibrations directly changed and became quite strong. Boom! Be careful. Sensing the incoming threat, The two of them stood up instantly. However, just as they stood up, they saw a bolt of lightning surging towards them. Boom! In an instant, this terrifying explosive force spread out. It directly blew up the surrounding ground. The intense explosion also released a huge amount of fire, which instantly trapped the two of them. Amidst the flames of the explosion, the two of them retreated rapidly. If not for this, whoosh, whoosh, two figures landed. It was Li Zhongjie and Wan Yulan. Just now, Li Zhongjie directly released a lightning from hundreds of meters away. Wan Yulan was also extremely worried about Li Zhongjie's personality. He didn't even say a word and directly rushed up to fight fiercely. After Li Zhongjie landed, without saying a word, he directly rushed into the fire and dust with the small black hammer in his hand. Boom! Under another loud noise, Wan Yulan saw a figure directly flew out. Half of his head was directly chopped off. Blood was constantly flowing out, and his body was already charred black. Obviously, he was burned like this under the power of the lightning just now. Boom! In the midst of the dust, there was another roar of explosion. The surrounding dust was directly blown away, and a powerful airwave spread out in all directions. This time, Wan Yulan saw clearly that one of the life and death servants was caught by Li Zhongjie. Just now, Li Zhongjie directly smashed the latter's body with his hammer. His head was still there, but the other half of his body was completely destroyed. The life and death servant's body is as hard as a mountain, yet it was beaten to such a state so easily. When Wan Yulan saw the miserable state of the two life and death servants, she was immediately shocked. She thought that it would be a tough battle, but she didn't expect that such a situation would occur. You must be Li Zhongjie. The guard captain walked out of the ruins. 6 corpses lay at his feet. These 6 people had already lost their chance to live the moment they caught the eye of the guard captain. Li Zhongjie did not care how many people the other party had killed. In terms of killing people, there was really nothing to compare with Li Zhongjie. What Li Zhongjie cared about was the fact that the others were not here. Since they were not here, he could only send these 3 people to heaven first. It seems that you still don't know who I am. Li Zhongjie casually threw the corpse in his hand to the ground. Holding the black dragon hammer in his hand, he suddenly rushed forward and killed the guard captain. Seeing that Li Zhongjie was the kind of person who didn't speak much, the guard captain smiled cruelly and activated his own strength. A domineering force condensed from his body and was instantly released. Facing the front, he punched out. This fist contained an extremely domineering force. The surrounding yuan power instantly condensed and formed a black energy vortex, which directly surrounded Li Zhongjie. The terrifying movement of the attack had already made Wan Yulan feel a trace of fear. If one was sucked into this vortex, one's life would be lost instantly. Even if one's mental strength was strong, if one was sucked into this black vortex, everything would be devoured. But there were always exceptions. For example, the black dragon hammer in Li Zhongjie's hand. Ever since the curse of the black dragon hammer was broken, Li Zhongjie had never really displayed the true power of the black dragon hammer. At this moment, in this terrifying vortex, Li Zhongjie's black dragon hammer suddenly erupted with a terrifying force. Suddenly, the force of thunder was like a spider web, instantly covering the entire vortex and forcibly breaking through it. Explode! Immediately, Li Zhongjie waved the black dragon hammer in his hand twice in succession. Each time, it was almost as if he was resisting the terrifying pressure in the air, releasing this force. Boom! The two terrifying forces collided. Naturally, there was damage. Even Li Zhongjie suffered a lot of backlash and took 2 steps back. On the other hand, the guard captain directly took more than 10 steps back. Finally, he fell to the ground on his butt. The ground where the two of them collided had completely collapsed, forming a deep crevice. Mountain flipping golden seal. Li Zhongjie had no intention of checking the opponent's condition. He immediately displayed this force, and immediately, a huge golden palm print fell towards the life and death servant. Bang! The guard captain's figure fled into the distance. However, he was once again injured by the aftermath of Li Zhongjie's attack. After all, it was a Saint Stage Yuan skill. Want to run? It was just a preliminary exchange. But the guard captain already knew that Li Zhongjio's strength was not so easy to resist, so he wanted to leave this place quickly. Li Zhongjio was about to give chase, but suddenly, the life and death servant, who had more than half of his body blown away, swung his blade towards Li Zhongjio. Clang! The opponent's blade slashed Li Zhongjio's neck. However, Li Zhongjio's blade was directly shattered. Li Zhongjio aimed at the head of the life and death servant and hammered it down. Bang! The hammer fell and completely smashed the head of the life and death servant. Li Zhongjio's hand was also holding a pile of broken bones. In reality, as long as the head of these life and death servants were smashed, how could there be so many life and death servants? Did they really think that they were so awesome? In Li Zhongjio's hands, who knows how many ancient devils he had killed? Why would he be afraid of you, who had only absorbed a little bit of the devil's power? Some unscrupulous people dared to be arrogant and unbridled in front of Li Zhongjio. Looking in the direction that the last life and death servant had fled, Li Zhongjio's brows furrowed. You escaped quickly, but where can you escape to in this place? In the sky, two huge figures were circling somewhere. After receiving the order, they directly swooped down in a direction. Blackwind Blood Shadow Condor. After all, this was their home ground, and the Blackwind Blood Shadow Condor's speed was still very fast. Even if something happened in White Deer Manor, they could still make a trip back. Wan Yulan was originally prepared for a fierce battle, but seeing Li Zhongjio rush down and kill two of the 3 life and death servants in less than 5 minutes, if the other one took the initiative to escape, it would be difficult for him to survive. Li Zhongjio's strength was too terrifying. No wonder the name of Evil Lord is not false. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.